Hey everyone, per your requests, I'm starting Soul Land 5, The Rebirth of Tang San. Chapters 841 through 860 of the previous episode. Tang San achieves godhood after enduring the devastating 9 heavens 10 earths divine extinguishing tribulation, with the divine intent of the Azura sword helping him withstand the final strikes. His body and bloodlines undergo a transcendent evolution, solidifying his status as a true god. Following the tournament, he secures Mei Gongzi's position as the Lord of Kali City with the secret support of the White Tiger and Undying Demon Emperors. Meanwhile, Tang San discovers the Fire Dawn clan and their fire god artifacts, identifying them as potential allies. He begins establishing a hidden human nation on overseas islands, utilizing advanced array technology and the support of sea clans to protect humanity from demon and nymph oppression. Ultimately, Tang San moves toward his next goal, consolidating his power to protect humanity and prepare for his ultimate destiny of reclaiming his God King status. If you're able to, please support me on PayPal to help me stay active. Thank you. Now let's get back to the story of Soul Land 5, The Rebirth of Tang San audio series. Chapter 861. Based on Tang San's judgment, the ancestral tree was likely the latter case. Its cultivation had probably reached the peak of this plane, and when it attempted to ascend to a higher level, it didn't exactly fail, but it didn't completely succeed either. In the end, it merged with heaven and earth. Its physical body remained behind like a husk devoid of spirit, while its divine consciousness became part of Phelan Planet, or rather, part of the planar ruler. Only in this way could it have left behind such a high-level life essence. What a pity! But then again, its chances of successfully evolving had been abysmally low to begin with. The Phelan Planet as a plane was simply too powerful. Such a strong plane could not give rise to a divine seat just like that, meaning that any being strong enough to qualify for one could only end up assimilating into the world. This was undoubtedly a tragic fate for a powerful entity like the ancestral tree. While Tang San was pondering, figures shot over rapidly from a distance, moving toward the colossal blue gold tree. When they arrived beneath the blue gold tree and saw the gloomy-faced Grand Elder and Tang San with 8 sharp spikes extending from his back, their expressions changed. Who is this person? 8 spikes. A great nymph king. Currently, there were only 3 individuals at that level within the entire blue gold tree clan. The top 3 elders. It was only natural for them to be shocked. Tang San withdrew his divine consciousness and quietly observed these blue gold tree elders. The number of elders in the Blue Gold Tree clan far exceeded his expectations. There were over 40 of them. Aside from the Grand Elder, 2 others also had 8 spikes on their backs. Their auras heavy and only slightly weaker than the Grand Elders. These were clearly the highest-ranking elders. In other words, the Blue Gold Tree clan had over 40 10th Order Nymph Kings. This number was more than double that of the Peacock Demon clan. No wonder they could still control a main city without an emperor. This was directly related to their immense strength. As so many 10th Order powerhouses of the Blue Gold Tree clan gathered beneath the ancient tree, the pure life energy in the air became so thick it felt almost tangible. In such a dense concentration of life energy, ordinary beings would not live for long. They would fail to process the sheer amount of life energy and end up bursting to death. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, Tang San could clearly feel his life force undergoing a transformation. He wanted to maintain this state forever. The feeling was truly wonderful. He had reached the 11th Order, and although he was still at the early stage, his combat strength undoubtedly made him one of the strongest, if not the absolute strongest 11th Order being in this plane. However, the road to regaining the God King power from his previous life was still long, and in this plane it was downright impossible. To do so, he would have to transcend this plane. And when that time came, he would face his most difficult trial yet. Returning to the God King level was no simple matter. But at this moment, this incredibly pure life energy was, without a doubt, the best form of nourishment for Tang San. His divine consciousness was being constantly nourished by the faith energy of the endless blue sea, but his other aspects were lagging behind. Meanwhile, the Blue Gold Tree clan couldn't compare to the endless blue sea in terms of sheer amount of energy, but the extremely high level and purity of their life energy benefited Tang San in every respect. Another elder, who also had 8 spikes, walked over to the Grand Elder with a look of confusion on his face. "What's going on, Grand Elder? Who is this?" The Grand Elder replied in a deep voice. He claims to be Jin Miaolin. Jin Miaolin? Upon hearing this name, the elders became somewhat restless. They all knew who Jin Miaolin was, and Jin Miaosan standing by his side only went to confirm that. But then their expressions quickly turned to reluctance. It was only natural, considering that personal interests were at stake. Although the elders were fully aware of what the direct lineage of the ancestral tree signified, under the radiance of the ancestral tree, all of them benefited greatly, direct heirs or not. The lack of an emperor didn't prevent the tree from bringing them immense benefits, allowing them to enhance their cultivation and live much longer. The Blue Gold Tree clan was already known for their longevity, and the longer they lived, the more they cherished their lives. This was one of the reasons blue gold trees rarely left the inner city. The Grand Elder cleared his throat, drawing the attention of all the blue gold trees present. With a solemn expression he said, "I have gathered everyone here today because of a very important matter. This clansman claims to be Jin Miaolin, a direct descendant of the ancestral tree, who left many years ago to seek a future for our clan. However, because he has been gone for so long, I cannot fully confirm his identity. At the same time, he wishes to inherit the ancestral tree's legacy and enjoy its radiance alone. Therefore, I have called you elders here to hold a vote, to decide whether or not he should be allowed to do so." Hearing this, Jin Miaosan became furious. "You are misleading the elders. First of all, my brother's identity is beyond doubt. The ancestral tree has acknowledged his bloodline. This cannot be faked. The legacy of the ancestral tree can only be passed on through our bloodline. There is no other way. When my brother wasn't here, you said I couldn't inherit because I'm a woman. That's complete nonsense, but I couldn't do anything against you. And now that my brother has returned, you're still trying to mislead everyone." The Grand Elder's emotions had, in contrast, calmed down. He looked at the furious Jin Miaosan and sighed. "Miaosan, you've misunderstood. Fine, let's assume he really is Jin Miaolin. Then it's also true that he agreed to let the Elder Council vote, right? The inheritance of the ancestral tree is a matter of life and death for the Blue Gold Tree clan, so we naturally cannot be hasty. Since it's been decided to hold a vote, let's proceed. Let the will of the elders decide." Seeing his smug demeanor, Jin Miaosan wanted nothing else but to slap his thick face. The Grand Elder was so calm because a vote by the Elder Council was bound to go the exact way he wanted. All the elders benefited from the ancestral tree's radiance. Who would be willing to give up the profit? That was why Jin Miaosan was so anxious. She couldn't understand why her brother would agree to a vote. He had been away for so long that he had no idea what was going on with the Blue Gold Tree clan. The elders had long been bound by their collective interests. At that moment, Tang San took 2 steps forward, coming to stand beside the Grand Elder. He looked at the Grand Elder with a calm gaze, then turned to the others and smiled. "Thank you for attending this emergency council meeting. I have been away for many years and am no longer familiar with the situation of the clan. I greatly appreciate the contributions you have all made over the years." As the Grand Elder said, the inheritance of the ancestral tree is of great importance and must naturally be decided by a vote among all the elders. The final decision will be based on the number of votes. But before that, I would like to say a few words, if I may. Grand Elder. Seeing the peaceful smile on Tang San's face, the Grand Elder felt a slight tightening in his chest. Although he was certain that nothing Jin Miaolin said could change the situation, for some reason, he felt a sense of unease he simply couldn't shake off. Regardless, Jin Miaolin and Jin Miaosan were both direct descendants of the ancestral tree. Even though the elders present were tied to their personal interests, none dared to press the direct heirs of the ancestral tree too far. Otherwise, Jin Miaosan wouldn't have dared confront the Grand Elder in this way. No one would risk going too far against the direct lineage of the ancestral tree, especially here of all places. "Please speak," the Grand Elder said in a magnanimous tone. "Let's see what you're up to." Tang San turned toward the elders. His heart was filled with admiration. There were more than 40 of them here, all of them 10th order powerhouses, and each of them exuded an overwhelming aura of life. Standing among them, Tang San felt as though his body was constantly being washed by an immense torrent of life energy. He had endured the 9 heavens and 10 earths divine extinguishing tribulation, But the process had been extremely dangerous, and he had been struck multiple times by heavenly lightning the likes of which no being in this plane had ever seen. And under such pressure, even Tang San's body had sustained damage. After the tribulation, his body had become much stronger, and so had his divine consciousness. At the same time, however, his very life essence had been damaged, and that would take a long time to repair. With his divine seat, it was really just a matter of time. He had to build up his strength before he dared to attempt breaking through to the 12th order. But sadly, time was what he lacked most right now. But in just the short amount of time he had spent here, Tang San could clearly feel that he was recovering, and he was recovering at his very core. The sensation was indescribably comfortable. The level of the life energy was so high that even someone at his cultivation level could benefit from it directly. His life essence was being nourished, and at this rate, it would be back to normal in no time at all. When he first arrived, he was simply curious about the Blue Gold Tree clan. But now, he felt that he truly needed to acquire the ancestral tree's inheritance. His bloodline was perfectly pure, of course, because he had absorbed it from the ancestral tree's direct heir, so in that respect there would be no problem. All the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan focused their gazes on Tang San, waiting for him to speak. Tang San swept his gaze over them and smiled. After being away for many years, returning and feeling the radiance of the ancestral tree once again reminds me that this is my true home. Life has been harsh for me. I was a stranger in a strange land, but even though I longed to return home, I didn't dare to do so without having accomplished anything. It wasn't until recently, after a series of unexpected events allowed me to gain some insights, that I finally felt qualified to come back. At this point, Tang San paused briefly, and the 8 spikes on his back stood upright. Even though he had barely used them for an hour or so, he was perfectly familiar with their functions. After all, in his previous life, one of his most useful abilities had been the 8 spider lances, which these spikes very much resembled. Controlling them now was not only effortless but also filled him with a nostalgic longing for his past life. Because the ancestral tree has not passed on its inheritance in this generation, our clan does not have an emperor right now one. But that may not necessarily be a bad thing. In fact, simply relying on the ancestral tree's inheritance to give birth to an emperor could very well end up causing trouble for the clan. After all, becoming an emperor purely through life force would result in being the weakest among emperors, and whoever did so would easily attract the covetous eyes of other emperors. I believe this is what you are concerned about. Hearing his words, the elders couldn't help but nod. This was indeed their main concern. Unless they reached the level of the ancestral tree, a Blue Gold Tree emperor would indeed be the weakest among emperors. At the same time, their body would be the most sought-after treasure. If another emperor devoured a Blue Gold Tree emperor, their strength and lifespan would skyrocket, likely to the very pinnacle of the 12th order. In fact, had it not been for the protection of the ancestral tree, the Blue Gold Tree clan's estate would have been invaded countless times. And if the ancestral tree's inheritance fell on a single clan member, even if they did become an emperor, could they really protect the Blue Gold Tree clan? If the ancestral tree's inheritance was passed on, its protective power would greatly diminish for a while, putting the clan at significant risk. Secondly, because the ancestral tree's power remains, its radiance continues to shine upon Skytree City. Every single one of our clansmen benefits from the nourishment of this life force, and the higher one's cultivation, the greater the effect. I believe you are concerned that if I accept the ancestral tree's inheritance, this radiance will disappear. It only makes sense for you to be worried. Jean Miaosen was stunned. She had assumed that her brother, having been away for so long, wouldn't understand the situation, but she hadn't expected him to be so perceptive. As she listened to him, her anxiety slowly faded away. The Grand Elder's eyes narrowed. Since Jean Miaolen seemed to understand everything, could he really have a solution to this problem? The elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan were also rather surprised. Seeing his calm and composed demeanor, their initial sense of rejection began to soften as their attention was fully drawn to him. Tang San continued, "As a member of the Blue Gold Tree clan, it is my pride to carry on the bloodline of the ancestral tree. However, I would never be willing to pass on the ancestral tree's power at the cost of the entire clan's well-being. If that were the case, I wouldn't have needed to seek opportunities elsewhere. I could have stayed here and taken on the inheritance directly. In other words, as far as I'm concerned, the premise for inheriting the ancestral tree's power is resolving the issues at hand. Otherwise, there's no need for you to vote. I wouldn't be qualified. This time, even the Grand Elder's face showed a look of surprise, and he couldn't help but ask, "Do you mean to say you have a way to resolve these two problems?" Tang San smiled slightly and said, "At this point, words are useless. We can discuss inheritance and whatnot once these things are settled. Elders, allow me to first demonstrate that my return will only benefit the Blue Gold Tree clan." As he spoke, he walked slowly toward the massive ancestral tree. At the same time, a soft blue radiance began to emanate from his body. This blue light was something none of those present had ever seen before. It was clear and crystalline, as if shining from within a sapphire, yet it also had a mysterious feeling to it, as if being illuminated by it could reveal some of the profound truths of the universe. The elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan were simply looking at Tang San and were not touched by this radiance directly, yet they immediately felt something. In some mysterious way, their perception and understanding of life force seemed to be subtly changing, as if their awareness of life itself was being elevated. What kind of power is this? They were sure of one thing: this was life energy, but at the same time it was not ordinary life energy. They knew best. After all, no being on this planet was more familiar with life energy than they were. Indeed, the blue light emanating from Tang San carried a strange quality, deep and majestic. As he walked toward the ancestral tree, it didn't feel as if he was approaching it with reverence. Instead, there was a sense of equality, as though he stood on even ground with the tree. The elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan instinctively parted to either side, creating a path for Tang San to approach the ancestral tree. The Grand Elder opened his mouth, intending to stop him, but in the end, he couldn't bring himself to speak. Tang San's earlier words, combined with the sudden aura he now emitted, caused even the Grand Elder to feel a sense of apprehension. Tang San was perfectly correct. The greatest problem of the Blue Gold Tree clan was their lack of combat abilities. Despite the presence of so many 10th Order powerhouses, their actual battle strength was ordinary at best. This was why, even with their numbers, they were often bullied by other races and rarely dared to leave the inner city. Each Blue Gold Tree clan member was a living treasure, incredibly valuable to both demons and nymphs, which made them highly attractive targets. As a result, they were naturally timid by nature. Even the peak 11th Order Grand Elder found himself retreating under the force of Tang San's aura. He felt fear and awe. Tang San approached the ancestral tree, and the blue light radiating from him grew more intense. He could clearly feel the immense life energy coming from the ancestral tree, energy that was directly connected to the very core of the Phelan planet. He slowly closed his eyes, his heart filled with gratitude. If not for the fortuitous events that had brought him here, he might never have known that the life core of the entire Phelan planet resided in this place. Without a doubt, the ancestral tree was born as the life core of this plane, and back when it still had its divine consciousness and was at full power, it had unquestionably reached the peak of the 12th Order. Although it lacked a divine seat and was also unable to push the entire plane to ascend, its life energy alone was so powerful that it could rival existences at the level of a god king. Phelan planet itself had an extraordinarily high level of life and a tremendous amount of energy, which was why it could sustain so many beings at the level of second-class and even first-class gods. The life core of such a plane naturally had to be unimaginably powerful. Life force was the fundamental power that supported a plane's continuous evolution and the driving force behind the advancement of all species. If such immense life energy were completely stripped away, the entire Phelan planet would regress, and it might even face the risk of destruction. Tang San raised his hand and slowly pressed his palm against the trunk of the ancestral tree. Not far away, the Grand Elder couldn't help but take a few steps forward, worried that Tang San might be about to initiate the process of receiving the ancestral tree's inheritance. But in the next moment, shock spread across the Grand Elder's face, as an unprecedented surge of life energy erupted from the ancestral tree. It was so overwhelming that the words froze on his lips. Not only had he never seen anything like it, he had never even imagined such a tremendous life energy. The massive trunk of the ancestral tree radiated a soft green glow, and tiny specks of green light sparkled on its bark. Its already enormous canopy seemed to grow a little, swaying gracefully in the non-existent wind. Yes, the ancestral tree, which had been dormant for who knew how many years, began to grow again the moment Tang San placed his hand on it. The life energy within it surged upwards dramatically. For the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan, this was utterly unbelievable. All the elders stood dumbfounded, watching this scene unfold, as they too felt the overwhelming influx of life force, just like the Grand Elder. Gradually, even Jean Miaosen and all the other elders present began to shimmer with tiny specks of green light. The stronger the elder, the more of these lights appeared. This was a sign that the life energy within their bodies had become so dense that it was beginning to overflow. Although they didn't know what Tang San was doing at that moment, it was clear that instead of taking the ancestral tree's inheritance and draining its life energy, he was doing the exact opposite. He was infusing it with his own energy. And due to this infusion of energy, the ancestral tree's life energy was increasing exponentially. At this moment, Tang San had entered a profound and mysterious state. The ancestral tree, as the life core of the entire Phelan planet, had an immeasurable amount of life energy, far beyond what had been previously radiating from it. After all, every single being in this plane, from blades of grass and microscopic shrimp to demon and nymph emperors, drew their life energy, and their very existence, from this life core. Its vast life energy spread across every corner of the planet. It would not be concentrated in any single place. However, the ancestral tree's husk served as the key to unlocking this immense life energy. And now Tang San had grasped that key. Immersed in his perception of life energy, Tang San felt his divine consciousness enter a vast green ocean. In this oasis of life, his thoughts extended outward, carried by the life energy and spreading farther and farther. Wherever life energy reached, his spirit followed. In that instant, Tang San could see what basically amounted to a map of all the places in this plane where life energy was most abundant. Obviously, the place with the densest life energy was the Demon Continent. For many years, the Demon Continent had benefited from the fortune bestowed by the Celestial Fox clan, which attracted the core resources of the entire plane. Next was the Endless Blue Sea. Though its various regions had varying concentrations of life energy, the sea overall was a massive reservoir. Tang San could vaguely sense that in the Magma Red Sea, where the Fire Dawn clan resided, the life energy was much richer than in other areas. Meanwhile, in more distant regions, there were places where life energy was extremely scarce, to the point of lacking altogether. Without needing to probe further, Tang San could tell that these places were likely the Nether Blue Sea, the Tainted Yellow Sea, and similar places. Only such places would have no life energy. But even farther away, there seemed to be an area within the Endless Blue Sea where life energy was as dense, if not denser, than that of the Demon Continent. Was that the Verdant Green Sea? Though it was far, far away, Tang San made a mental note. He definitely had to visit this place in the future. The ancestral tree seemed to spread its roots throughout the entire planet, covering every corner. This wondrous sensation allowed Tang San's divine consciousness to perceive the places where life energy was the most concentrated. And as he stimulated the tree's vitality, everything became clearer. It was as if the ancestral tree's lifeless shell had awakened, beginning to breathe and causing the flow of life energy to become even more vigorous. The reason Tang San could trigger such a transformation in the ancestral tree was not the blue gold tree bloodline he had, but rather the trace of the chaos energy he had injected from his Chaos Blue Silver Emperor into the ancestral tree. Chaos energy was the highest level of energy, and it appeared from the very source of the universe when a plane was born. It was the source of all existence. When this trace of chaos energy, minute though it was, merged with the ancestral tree, the tree conveyed a feeling of deep affection to Tang San, as if a child were seeing its parent for the first time. How could it not be excited? Tang San could also feel that after his trace of chaos energy made contact with the ancestral tree, it was bathed in the life essence of the entire plane, becoming much brighter and subtly growing stronger. When the universe itself was born, chaos energy gave birth to life. On a smaller scale, this also applied to each plane in particular. All life energy, regardless of its level, was rooted in the chaos energy that stood at the core of this plane. As this life energy of the highest level began to feed back to its source, the strand of chaos energy was slowly enriched, and in turn nourished Tang San's Chaos Blue Silver Emperor bloodline. At the same time, the presence of the chaos energy reinvigorated the ancestral tree, bringing it back to life in a sense. The reason Tang San had so much confidence in his statements was precisely this chaos energy. As a former god king, his understanding of the relationship between planar life force and chaos energy could hardly be any more profound. Based on this knowledge, he had already predicted that when he infused the ancestral tree's husk with chaos energy, such changes would occur. Gradually, all the blue gold trees in the city started to notice that the ancestral tree was changing. The intense life energy it radiated, which spread outward as green motes of light, no longer covered just the inner city, but it also drifted toward the outer city. The tree's enormous trunk and branches turned crystalline blue, shimmering with transparent brilliance. Tang San stood beneath the tree, his body also turning a crystalline blue. Vaguely, streams of black and white energy could be seen swirling within him. If they relied only on their divine consciousness to sense what was going on, the elders felt that Tang San had merged completely with the ancestral tree, becoming indistinguishable from it. Their divine sense could no longer tell where the ancestral tree ended and where Tang San began. The ancestral tree has awakened, an elder said in a trembling voice before kneeling and bowing down in the direction of the ancestral tree. With the first came the second, and soon all the elders, without exception, knelt toward the ancestral tree. Even the Grand Elder. The Blue Gold Tree clan was born because of the ancestral tree. The ancestral tree was the core and foundation of their entire existence. Without it, everything would lose its meaning. They all owed it the utmost respect. According to records passed down by the clan, the ancestral tree at its peak had precisely this appearance, and the description in the records had turned into a phrase known to every member of the clan: blue trunk and golden leaves. At this very moment, the trunk and branches of the ancestral tree had taken on the appearance of blue crystal, exactly as depicted in the ancient records. The leaves of the tree were still a vibrant green, but this intense green color was due to the overwhelming concentration of life energy. Drops of green liquid constantly fell from the leaves, transforming into life-giving moisture that merged into the air, drifting far into the distance. And as the green flickered away, the leaves slowly revealed a golden glow. This was a form of the ancestral tree that hadn't appeared for countless years, long enough that it had practically become the object of myths and legends. Seeing it now, the elders' first thought was that the ancestral tree had awakened. They were aware that the ancestral tree's consciousness had spread across the planet, and they believed that it would never return. Yet now it seemed to be awakening. No matter what personal ambitions the Grand Elder had, in the face of such a scene, he dared not resist in the slightest. Otherwise, he would become the enemy of the entire Blue Gold Tree clan. Tang San slowly opened his eyes, his heart filled with a sense of wonder. In that brief moment, he had used chaos energy to stimulate the ancestral tree, awakening the life force of the planet that the tree represented. His chaos energy had benefited from this interaction, and at the same time, the ancestral tree had also been strengthened. The ancestral tree had once been so powerful that it nearly reached the level of a deity, which the plane did not allow. Thus, its divine consciousness had dissipated and merged with heaven and earth, becoming eternal. In a sense, while this ensured its existence throughout the ages, it had also reduced the tree to a state of pure instinct. Its massive husk remained as a source of life energy, but under the stimulation of Tang San's chaos energy, it appeared that some of the ancestral tree's consciousness had begun to reform. Although this was not enough for the tree to reawaken properly, its instincts had grown stronger and more refined, allowing it to mobilize the life energy of the plane better and make its life essence more concentrated. In this way, the level of the ancestral tree's husk had been raised by more than just one level thanks to Tang San. He had thus fulfilled what he had promised the elders. Even if he did inherit the ancestral tree's legacy, this would not cause a drop in its life energy and thereby endanger the clan. Not only did his actions not have a negative impact, but they also showed that there was hope of the Blue Gold Tree clan's revival. As he was bathed in this high-level life energy, Tang San's body was also undergoing a transformation akin to rebirth. During his tribulation, his mortal body had transformed into a divine body. However, due to the overwhelming power of the tribulation, although he had successfully crossed it, his divine body had suffered some damage, requiring a long period of nurturing to fully recover. Right now, his cultivation was fine, and thanks to the power of his divine seat, his body was slowly but continuously improving. But it would still take time, and he had to prepare himself for eventually becoming an emperor. At this moment, in front of the ancestral tree, his body began to undergo changes. First, the injuries from his previous tribulation were being healed. The cracks left by the 9 heavens 10 earths divine extinguishing tribulation were slowly mending under the nourishment of this extremely pure and high-level life energy. The recovery, enhanced by the chaos energy, was happening many times faster than it would have normally. At the same time, Tang San's divine body was evolving, undergoing a complete transformation as it absorbed the planet-level life essence and the chaos energy. This metamorphosis would strengthen his foundation even further. For him, this transformation was more valuable than directly inheriting the ancestral tree's power. After all, no matter how great the ancestral tree's power was, it still paled in comparison to the level he had been at as a god king. What he needed most was to restore his former strength. The process of becoming an emperor involved far more than a simple heavenly tribulation, and it would undoubtedly also bring great trouble from the existing emperors. The phenomena it triggered were impossible to conceal. No matter where on the planet someone became an emperor, the existing emperors would inevitably sense it. And whether for demons or nymphs, the emergence of a new emperor carried massive implications. When the crystal demon emperor was still alive, demons in the Empyrean dominion suppressed nymphs with overwhelming power. The might of the continent's strongest figure influenced the balance of power on the demon continent for millennia. Now that the crystal demon emperor had fallen, although demons still had an advantage in the number of emperors, their overall strength was no longer superior to nymphs. The combined might of the sunborn nymph emperor and the earthshade nymph emperor was something for which demons had no countermeasure. With the crystal demon emperor's death, the question of who would fill the vacant position was crucial. Both demons and nymphs would undoubtedly go all out to claim it. Whichever side produced a new emperor would gain a significant advantage in the struggle between the two countries. Thus, the entire demon continent was simmering in an atmosphere of intense tension. Conflict seemed inevitable, and the seemingly calm status quo was nothing but the calm before the storm. This was why demons were pressuring Mei Gongzi to marry soon and secure the full support of the Empyrean dominion, as she was seen as the most likely candidate to reach the level of a demon emperor. And on the nymph side, they would certainly not let this matter pass easily. When the time came, it was sure to be a spectacular and chaotic event. The competition between demons and nymphs over becoming an emperor was already fierce, so what would their reaction be if someone who belonged to neither side happened to claim that throne? If a human of all races were to claim the title of emperor during such a time, what would happen? Without a doubt, all the existing emperors would rise against them. Even the White Tiger Demon Emperor and the Sword Saint Demon Emperor, who were close to Tang San, would not support him in this situation. Meanwhile, although Mei Gongzi had human blood, she was still the granddaughter of the White Tiger Demon Emperor and even had the bloodline of the Phoenix race, although the other emperors were still unaware of that. Her becoming an emperor was something demons could reluctantly accept. But were it Tang San instead, the outcome was certain. Everybody would be against him. This was why Tang San had previously said he would participate in the competition for Mei Gongzi's hand in marriage, using his identity as the so-called heir of the sea god. He hoped to test whether demons might accept sea beasts as a legitimate power, which could allow him to become an emperor without interference in the future. However, he was fully aware that this possibility was slim, and recently, he had been contemplating what method was optimal for him to become an emperor without having to fight the entire demon continent for a spot. The most straightforward option was to flee to a location far away from the demon continent to undergo the process and finish it before the other emperors could arrive. But he had no way to know whether this method would succeed, as he wasn't entirely sure what the process entailed. But as his power intertwined with that of the ancestral tree, a new idea began to take shape in Tang San's mind. Previously, Tang San had considered showing up as the representative of the sea beasts, prove his strength, marry Mei Gongzi officially, and ascend alongside her. After all, the Crystal Demon Emperor had been so powerful that the addition of 2 new emperors, instead of just one, seemed theoretically possible. Once he became an emperor, all problems would be resolved. The plan made sense, but the risks were still high. The White Tiger Demon Emperor might support him in this case, But the other emperors were another matter. Moreover, the celestial fox demon emperor was still in the lead, and gaining his approval in this situation was unlikely at best. But what if he approached the issue from another direction, specifically from the west? What if he shifted his focus to nymphs in the Solstice Empire? Even the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan couldn't tell he was not one of them, so how could others? And if he attempted to become an emperor as a member of the Blue Gold Tree clan instead, in other words a nymph emperor in their eyes, wouldn't that be a lot easier? After all, the ancestral tree could be described as a benefactor to all life on the demon continent. At the very least, it greatly influenced plant-type nymphs. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor, the Earthshade Nymph Emperor, and the Soul Capturer Nymph Emperor, weren't they all plant-type nymphs? Thinking of this, a faint smile appeared at the corner of Tang San's mouth. As the Blue Gold Tree clan elders continued to kneel in worship before the husk of the ancestral tree, all the other members of the clan began to sense the changes as well. Normally, they would not have the right to come into contact with the ancestral tree, but at this moment, the tree was actually taking the initiative to come into contact with them. How could they not be excited? The elders were feeling the benefits already, as their vitality was improving. Meanwhile, for the lower-level blue gold trees, the benefits were even greater. Within just minutes, the entire Blue Gold Tree clan was impacted by the life energy radiating from the ancestral tree, and they experienced what basically amounted to a collective upgrade. A similar thing could be witnessed in the outer city. The aura of the ancestral tree enveloped the entire Sky Tree city. Every nymph within the city, regardless of race or attribute, could feel the nourishing effects of this powerful life energy. All of Sky Tree City fell into a frenzy. Nymphs poured into the streets, making their way toward the inner city, kneeling around the moat, and bowing in gratitude to the ancestral tree's radiance. Even if they couldn't see the tree directly from here, they could witness the immense light of life from the inner city, a green glow rising straight into the sky. At the same time, all the plants within Sky Tree City began to grow wildly, not just in size but also in level of life. The inner city was a fountain of life. If the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor were here, he would undoubtedly sense that the fortune of Sky Tree City was changing, rapidly ascending. On the first day, all of Sky Tree City was alarmed by the changes. By the second day, the surrounding villages and towns were also disturbed. Many nymphs began to rush toward Sky Tree City, coming to worship the ancestral tree and, of course, conveniently bask in its light. By the third day, a figure radiating golden light arrived from the distance, hovering in the sky several kilometers away from Sky Tree City and gazing down at the city. It was a tall man clad in shimmering golden armor. The armor had intricate lines, and it was not forged but rather condensed from adamant. It was a part of his body. He radiated an immensely powerful aura that immediately betrayed his status. This was unquestionably an emperor, one of the elites at the pinnacle of the demon continent. At this moment, his face displayed an expression of doubt and uncertainty. He was very familiar with Sky Tree City, having been here more than once, but now he could no longer see the city he knew. It had vanished. Not in the sense of being destroyed, but completely covered in vegetation. Massive trees and vines had enveloped the entire city, and from above, all the eye could see was an endless sea of green. And in the eyes of his divine consciousness, there was only life energy and nothing else, so thick and rich that it was overwhelming. The emperor witnessing this spectacle was none other than the indestructible Adamant Nymph Emperor, one of the 7 emperors of the Solstice Empire. Renowned for his formidable defense, the Adamant Nymph Emperor ruled over Adamant City, the closest main city to Sky Tree. For a long time he had coveted Sky Tree City, often exploiting the timid nature of the Blue Gold Tree clan to obtain valuable resources from them. Though the Adamant Nymph Emperor was not a plant attribute nymph and had instead cultivated from a piece of adamant, even beings like him, literally made of stone, still craved life energy. In fact, in a sense, it did more good to them than to any other beings. Sky Tree City was rich in life energy, and so were its inhabitants. By secretly capturing a member of the Blue Gold Tree clan and slowly draining them, one could obtain a tremendous amount of life energy. Many nymph clans had tried to exploit the Blue Gold Tree clan in this way. The Blue Gold Tree clan had never been able to resist, and all they could do was hide within the inner city, minimizing opportunities for the other clans. With the husk of the ancestral tree guarding the inner city, No one dared to invade. This was also why, when Jean Miaolin left, the clan believed it was impossible for him to return alive. The Blue Gold Tree clan's allure was simply too strong to resist. By official order of the ancestral court, blue gold trees could never be auctioned in the Solstice Empire. However, in the black market of underground dealings, they were treated as the most valuable resource for trade. The Adamant Nymph Emperor had once suggested that, since it had been many years since the Blue Gold Tree clan had produced an emperor, selfishly hoarding such a vast amount of life energy was detrimental to the development of the Solstice Empire. He proposed stripping the Blue Gold Tree clan of ownership over Skytree City, and opening the ancestral tree's body for observation by other clans. The implications of this suggestion were vast. If the ancestral court had approved it, the Blue Gold Tree clan could very well have faced the danger of extinction. Fortunately, among the nymph emperors, Plant Type 1 still respected the ancestral tree's contributions to all nymphs, so they did not approve the proposal. But it was undeniable that all clans coveted the Blue Gold Tree clan's resources, even the tree nymphs that could trace their roots all the way to the ancestral tree. It only went to prove the old adage, having a treasure you can't protect is a crime in itself. Thus, when the Adamant Nymph Emperor heard that changes were occurring in Skytree City, and that the ancestral tree seemed to be radiating immense life energy, his first reaction wasn't fear of the ancestral tree's awakening, but excitement. As an emperor, he was well aware of the ancestral tree's situation. Its consciousness had long since spread across the entire planet, becoming one with heaven and earth. How could the ancestral tree possibly return? It was more likely that the Blue Gold Tree clan had lost control of its husk, causing life energy to leak out. Naturally, the Adamant Nymph Emperor rushed over, hoping to take advantage of the situation. But now that he truly gazed down at Skytree City from the sky and sensed the life energy within the city, he hesitated. The life energy radiating from Skytree City was far too vast, and its level was far too high. Even from this distance he could feel it. Moreover, the energy wasn't leaking out chaotically as he had expected. Instead, it was circulating in an extremely orderly manner, centered around the heart of the city. With his 12th order divine consciousness, he could faintly sense that this vast life energy was rooted deep within the earth. The reason there was so much of it was that it was being drawn from everywhere else and converging toward Skytree City. In other words, this didn't seem like the ancestral tree's power leaking out. It felt more like the ancestral tree actually awakening, absorbing the life energy of the outside world, and letting out some of it for the city. The Adamant Nymph Emperor felt some measure of apprehension toward the ancestral tree. After all, it was once one of the 3 most powerful ancient nymphs and the life source of the entire planet. However, his curiosity now overpowered his caution. The life energy was richer than anything he'd seen in his entire life. If he could absorb it, his cultivation would rise tremendously. After observing for a while, the Adamant Nymph Emperor decided to approach and experience Skytree City's atmosphere firsthand. He thus slowly descended, heading toward Skytree City's inner part. The closer he got, the more he could feel the life energy's intensity, to the point where even an experienced emperor like him couldn't help but show a look of astonishment. Even from this distance, the life energy nourished his body, making him feel as if he were soaking in a hot spring. It was vast, immense, boundless. Even at the height of the ancestral court's power, there had never been such a terrifying amount of life energy. Greed sprouted in his heart, and he sped up his descent, fully opening his body to greedily absorb this thick, high-level life energy. But just as he was going all out, an ancient and authoritative voice suddenly boomed in his mind. In the next moment, the Adamant Nymph Emperor felt as if the world had turned upside down. All within his sight and divine consciousness seemed to become hostile to him, and an overwhelmingly terrifying force of repulsion surged from below. At the same time, the very sky above bore down upon him with massive pressure. In an instant, the world felt like it was collapsing, and heaven and earth alike were crumbling. The Adamant Nymph Emperor's face twisted in terror. His armor erupted with radiant light, shining like a diamond in the sky. In a split second he spun around, attempting to flee. But the force of heaven and earth collapsing was too terrifying. The Adamant Nymph Emperor felt as though the entire plane had become his enemy. At that moment, above Skytree City, a massive figure slowly materialized. It was the image of a giant tree. its trunk shimmering in translucent blue light. A branch covered in golden leaves swept through the air. With a loud bang, the adamant nymph emperor was swatted away like a fly, sent flying out of sight. He vanished far into the distance, disappearing from view. Only after he flew a long way did the sensation of the sky collapsing and the earth shattering disappear. Meanwhile, throughout the entire ordeal, Skytree City remained completely unaffected. Underneath the canopy of the ancestral tree, Tang San slowly opened his eyes, a hint of shock flashing within them. At this moment, every one of the Blue Gold Tree clan elders present was prostrating on the ground, their foreheads touching the earth. Anyone with divine consciousness had been able to sense what had just happened in the sky, and it was precisely for this reason that they were even more deeply shaken. They knew exactly who had tried to trespass: an emperor. The husk of the ancestral tree had always protected Skytree City, but it had been countless years since the ancestral tree had even manifested itself, let alone made such an open show of power. In the past, while there had been no overt invasions, there had been cases of pressure being exerted upon Skytree City. At those times, the Blue Gold Tree clan would retreat into the inner city, relying on the ancestral tree's protection. While their strength within this area would be greatly enhanced, that was the extent of their defense. But just now, what was that? Was it? Has the ancestral tree truly awakened? An emperor sent flying with just a single blow. What kind of power was this? Not even the Crystal Demon Emperor, once known as the strongest emperor, could have done this. Nothing else could explain what had just happened besides the return of the ancestral tree. Had the ancestral tree truly returned? One could say that part of it had. Thanks to the guidance of chaos energy, part of the ancestral tree's divine consciousness, which had merged with heaven and earth, had indeed returned. However, this did not mean its memories and personality were back, nor that it had developed new intelligence. It was simply that the husk's instincts had been improved, allowing it to access more of the plane's life force. The one behind that strike just now wasn't the ancestral tree defending itself, but actually Tang San. Through his use of the chaos energy combined with the Blue Gold Tree clan's bloodline, Tang San had, over the course of 3 days, formed something like a symbiotic relationship with the husk of the ancestral tree. His Blue Gold Tree bloodline imprint had directly been elevated to the peak of the 11th order. Moreover, the life energy of this bloodline had an incredible nurturing effect on all other bloodline imprints, as well as on Tang San's body, enhancing his life essence. In the other direction, Tang San's chaos energy gave invaluable aid to the tree, and due to this, he was able to guide the ancestral tree's life energy to a certain extent. When the adamant nymph emperor arrived and began absorbing the ancestral tree's life essence, he touched upon not only the tree's life energy, but also the chaos energy that Tang San had infused into the ancestral tree. And what was chaos energy? Even with only its instincts, the ancestral tree knew its significance. The tree's outburst was but a natural reaction, and all Tang San had done was give it a little nudge in the right direction. Essentially, the ancestral tree had instinctively unleashed a massive surge of energy, and Tang San had guided that energy to deliver the blow. After witnessing Tang San wave his hand, the ancestral tree manifest that massive image, and the branch strike the adamant nymph emperor. The elders who had been sitting cross-legged immediately prostrated themselves again. Tang San's astonishment was due to the sheer power of the ancestral tree's body. As expected of the 3 great progenitors of nymphs, if not for lacking its divine consciousness, it likely would have possessed power approaching the God-King level. Now, however, due to the chaos energy, it had become closely connected to him. Within Skytree City, he no longer needed to fear any emperor. This was indeed quite beneficial. Calming the life energy within his body and feeling unprecedented vitality throughout, Tang San couldn't help but smile as he gently floated upward. With 3 days of being nourished by the life essence of this plane, Tang San had laid the foundation for his eventual return to the God-King level. This powerful Phelan planet had provided exactly what he needed most. Initially, he had intended to just grab the inheritance and make himself scarce, but now that he had this opportunity, he decided to stay here and cultivate for a while. The evolution of his life essence was invaluable to him in every respect. The endless blue sea brought him the power of faith, and Skytree City offered him the radiance of life. He was one step closer to returning to his true power. Please rise, elders. Tang San said with a smile. At that moment, the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan finally dared to rise, but as they looked at Tang San, there was no longer any doubt in their eyes, only deep reverence. In those 3 days, every single one of them had received great benefits. They all appeared younger than before and their auras were steadier, each of them full of vitality and spirit. At the same time, the husk of the ancestral tree behind Tang San had completely transformed into the legendary blue trunk and golden leaves, a return to its former peak. The Grand Elder's face was somewhat pale at this moment, but his aged features were filled with nothing but respect. You have awakened the ancestral tree, and this shall mark the revival of our clan. We apologize for our rudeness earlier, clan leader. As he spoke, the Grand Elder bowed deeply to Tang San, and everyone else followed suit. The moment the Grand Elder sensed the ancestral tree's aura rising, he realized that this Jin Miaolin had indeed brought something monumental back. And when he personally witnessed the adamant nymph emperor being struck away, all his doubts vanished. Meanwhile, Jin Miaosan was practically bouncing with excitement, her eyes filled with exhilaration as she looked at Tang San. Without even needing to inherit the ancestral tree's power, Tang San was now fully acknowledged by the elders as the clan leader. Jin Miaosan could hardly believe that her brother, after being away for so many years, had returned so powerful. Tang San smiled and said, "Elders, please rise. Since you all acknowledge me, I will humbly accept the role." The Grand Elder sighed and said, "Clan leader, I have offended you many times. Please punish me." Tang San waved his hand and said, "There's no need for punishment. All of you acted with the clan's safety in mind." Naturally, he himself didn't believe what he was saying, but he wasn't going to let a bunch of selfish elders ruin the harmonious atmosphere he had just created. He wasn't concerned about how self-serving these elders might be from now on. Under the immense pressure and the radiance of the ancestral tree, they wouldn't dare make any stupid moves. Hearing Tang San's words, the Grand Elder's tears began to fall, and his voice was choked as he said, "Clan leader, you don't know how much suffering our clan has endured since the ancestral tree fell into slumber. While other clans outwardly show respect, hailing the ancestral tree as their ancestor, in reality, they have been secretly abducting our people to harvest their life energy, and even selling them on the black market. It's made us too afraid to leave the inner city. I only stopped you earlier out of fear that, if the ancestral tree's power weakened after it passed down its inheritance, it could truly bring our clan to the brink of extinction." Tang San's brow furrowed slightly, and he nodded. "Grand Elder, rest assured. The ancestral tree has awakened. From this day forward, no one will be able to touch our people. As for those who were abducted, I will find a way to bring them back. And anyone proven to have killed our clan members, no matter who they are, will face our retribution." As he spoke, the blue light surrounding him and the light from the trunk of the ancestral tree behind him became increasingly radiant. "Wise clan leader!" the elders cried out, their eyes brimming with tears of excitement. This was no act. After being oppressed for so long, the Blue Gold Tree clan finally saw hope. Even these selfish elders could barely contain their joy. They had no idea that Tang San himself was just as deeply surprised, and that surprise was not entirely positive. The partial revival of the ancestral tree, regaining control over the life essence, was a tremendous boon for the entire demon continent. This would greatly enhance the continent's fortunes. And now that he was recognized as the leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan, he essentially had control over this vast power, a downright frightening prospect. But at the same time, the Celestial Fox clan would undoubtedly benefit from this change, and by no small measure. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor could likely recover to his peak rather quickly, and possibly even become stronger. This was because the strength of the Celestial Fox clan was in a symbiotic relationship with the fortune of the demon continent. This wasn't something Tang San wanted to see, but he could not fully control the ancestral tree. He had been able to benefit from such a significant opportunity precisely because the tree was functioning entirely on instinct, and that instinct was to circulate life energy. At the same time, Tang San now hesitated to accept the ancestral tree's inheritance, for two main reasons. The first reason was that under the influence of his chaos energy, the ancestral tree had partially revived and was slowly regaining control of the planet's life essence. The sheer magnitude of this energy was overwhelming, If Tang San were to take the inheritance, he would absorb a vast amount of the planet's life essence, which might very well propel him directly to the 12th order. However, this was something the planar ruler would never allow. Tang San had made a certain agreement with the planar ruler. The latter hoped that Tang San would one day help the entire plane ascend, but a crucial condition of their agreement was that he did not interfere with the planet's development. If he attempted to ascend to the emperor level by consuming the planet's life essence, the planar ruler would unleash a brutal suppression, using the full force of the plane against him. Tang San was acutely aware of this and knew that no matter how powerful he was, this was a fight he was destined to lose. The second reason was that because the ancestral tree's sentience had somewhat improved, it no longer recognized Tang San as its heir. After all, he wasn't truly part of the Blue Gold Tree clan. The Blue Gold Tree elders might not be able to tell, but how could the ancestral tree, as the life core of the entire planet, fail to recognize whether Tang San was actually one of its descendants? Thus, if he attempted to trigger the inheritance process now, it was very likely that he would be rejected. The ancestral tree instinctively accepted him due to his bloodline and his chaos energy that benefited the tree to a tremendous degree. However, being the tree's representative was one thing, and draining a massive amount of its power was something else altogether. The ancestral tree was very unlikely to permit the latter. Therefore, considering these two factors, Tang San knew he couldn't accept the ancestral tree's inheritance right now. The first reason couldn't be changed. There was no way the planar ruler would allow such a thing to happen. But as for the second, gaining more of the ancestral tree's approval was something he could work on. At present, the ancestral tree regarded him as a benefactor, and he could control its power to some extent. To earn further recognition and to be seen as part of the clan, he would need to do more for the Blue Gold Tree clan. If he could gain the ancestral tree's recognition, then even if he did not go through the inheritance process, the benefits for him would be immense. First, he would receive more of the planet's life essence to nourish him. Second, this would earn him more trust on part of the planar ruler. The planar ruler of Phelan Planet was an intangible existence, a sentient but non-discrete entity that was part of the plane and at the same time superior to it. But how had this planar ruler come into being? Most certainly, the original divine consciousness of the ancestral tree, which had long since fused with the plane itself, had played an important role. Thus, if Tang San could win the favor of the ancestral tree, he would, in effect, also gain favor with the plane itself. This would greatly aid him when he attempted to ascend to emperorhood. Tang San had come to realize this during his recent cultivation. This was why he had accepted the position of clan leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan. It wasn't just about obtaining the inheritance, and in fact, he could forego that altogether if needed. Facing the elders, Tang San smiled and said, "I will need to enter seclusion for a while to comprehend everything the ancestral tree's awakening has brought us. Also, I've decided not to take the inheritance for now. The ancestral tree's life energy is far too vast, and I believe that I am not prepared for it. It won't be too late to go through with it after I become an emperor." Upon hearing Tang San's words, the elders present, especially the Grand Elder, couldn't help but show expressions of surprise. No one had expected that after gaining the full approval of all the elders, he would choose to back out. The ancestral tree's inheritance was something every member of the Blue Gold Tree clan dreamed of, yet Tang San gave it up so easily. The Grand Elder hesitated and asked, "Clan leader, if you accept the inheritance now, wouldn't you have a direct opportunity to ascend to emperorhood? Why not seize the chance?" Tang San shook his head and said, "The time isn't right. Right now, you can think of me as the ancestral tree's representative. The ancestral tree has just regained a portion of its power, and it needs to slowly gain control of the life force of the plane. Its recovery will take time, and I can't interfere with that just for my own sake. Besides, the ancestral tree has given me a tremendous amount of power, and that will be enough for me to process for a long while. After I finish absorbing everything, I plan to travel through the main cities of the Solstice Empire, rescue our lost clan members, and show the other clans that the Blue Gold Tree clan is not to be insulted. Before I accept the inheritance, I must first make enough contributions to the clan to be worthy of it." Hearing these words, all the elders present were moved. At that moment, Tang San appeared like a savior bestowed upon them by heaven itself. Jean Miaosan's face flushed with pride, and her eyes were filled with admiration. My big brother is back. Tang San thus settled right in front of the ancestral tree and proceeded with his cultivation, and the elders took turns to keep watch over him. The news of the adamant nymph emperor being struck and sent flying by the ancestral tree spread quickly across the Solstice Empire. After all, not only was he an emperor, but he was renowned for his extraordinary defense, and yet he had been simply swatted away by the sheer force of the ancestral tree. Who else across the entire continent could achieve such a feat with raw strength alone? The Blue Gold Tree clan, once viewed merely as a resource, suddenly reappeared in the sights of the continent's powerful clans. Tang San's seclusion didn't last long. After 7 days, he awoke from his meditation. He had first attempted to communicate with the ancestral tree, using his divine consciousness. As expected, the ancestral tree operated on instinct. It was vaguely sentient, but its intelligence was far from awakening. Thanks to the chaos energy, Tang San was able to establish a connection with it, and this allowed him to borrow some of the tree's power, but as he had predicted, the idea of inheriting its life essence was immediately met with rejection. Thus, he had given up on the idea, and simply proceeded with his cultivation, not willing to waste time on futile endeavors. While infusing a small amount of chaos energy into the ancestral tree, Tang San absorbed the vast life energy it fed back to him, continuously nourishing and refining his body. His life energy and physical strength were significantly enhanced. Except for the discerning eye of heaven, which was reliant on the celestial fox bloodline, all of his bloodline imprints had now reached the 11th order. Additionally, Tang San discovered that when he used the ancestral tree's life energy to nourish the Blue Gold Tree clan, he could access even more of the ancestral tree's power. The ancestral tree, it seemed, had a strong instinct to protect its people. Over these few days, Tang San had carefully studied and sensed this phenomenon, and in the meantime, his role as the ancestral tree's representative had been fully accepted by all members of the Blue Gold Tree clan. Skytree City had been revitalized, now brimming with an overwhelming amount of life energy. The ancestral tree's power was growing, a fact that all members of the Blue Gold Tree clan could feel. However, beyond the first 3 days of blessing the world, the ancestral tree's energy now only benefited the Blue Gold Tree clan and had no effect on other races. When Tang San awoke from his cultivation, the Blue Gold Tree elders who had been protecting him opened their eyes as well, their gazes all focusing on him. Tang San stood up and the elders followed suit, rising to their feet and bowing to him respectfully. Tang San's eyes glowed with blue gold radiance as he spoke in a steady voice. Grand Elder. Present. The Grand Elder approached Tang San and bowed respectfully. After everything that had happened over the past few days, he had completely let go of his selfish desires. Tang San's return and the revival of the ancestral tree had brought them benefits far greater than anything they'd experienced before. Now, all the elders were utterly convinced there was nothing to lose by having him lead the clan, not to mention the incident with the Adamant Nymph Emperor had made them question all their life choices. Word was that the Adamant Nymph Emperor had actually been injured and had gone into seclusion since his return. Is there any business that needs handling immediately? Yes, the ancestral court sent an envoy and he's been waiting for you to finish your seclusion, the Grand Elder responded respectfully. Tang San nodded slightly. Bring him in. Soon, the ancestral court envoy was led over by Blue Gold Tree clan members. Upon seeing the envoy, Tang San's heart stirred slightly. He was quite handsome, and at a first glance almost indistinguishable from a human. Only the traces of white fur on his ears revealed his actual race. Even back in Kali City, the envoys that came were mostly from other combat-focused clans. A celestial fox had only appeared once, accompanying the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor in his investigation. Upon seeing Tang San, the envoy from the Celestial Fox clan carefully examined the 8 spikes on his back and the towering ancestral tree behind him. He bowed deeply, in a display of exceptional etiquette. Ling Tian of the Celestial Fox clan greets the ancestral tree and the Blue Gold clan leader. This celestial fox was a demon king. With just a glance, Tang San was able to discern his cultivation. He was also clearly aware that upon arriving, the envoy had immediately activated his bloodline powers, not to manipulate the fortune here but just to sense it, presumably to verify whether the ancestral tree had truly revived. On the surface, Tang San feigned ignorance. Whatever the envoy could sense, he could sense as well. After all, his celestial fox bloodline was also at the 10th order, and his hybrid discerning eye of heaven was superior to the ordinary celestial fox vision. Without acknowledging the envoy's probing, he simply smiled and said, "Welcome, envoy of the ancestral court. What brings you here?" The ancestral tree's revival was real, at least so far as everyone else was concerned, and that was absolutely great news for the ancestral court. Stimulated by chaos energy, it had awakened a portion of its instincts and was once again gathering the planet's life essence. There was no doubt about that. Even the late Crystal Demon Emperor couldn't compare to it in sheer life energy. Moreover, the ancestral tree possessed the ability to nurture life. Its revival would surely boost the fortune of the entire demon continent, and the Blue Gold Tree clan's fortune would skyrocket. In fact, using his discerning eye of heaven, Tang San could see a towering pillar of fortune rising. He suspected that even the celestial fox demon emperor could see this all the way from the ancestral court, let alone someone standing so close. Ling Tian bowed slightly again and said, "His Majesty, the celestial fox demon emperor, was delighted to hear of the ancestral tree's revival and sent me to offer his congratulations. The ancestral tree's awakening is a great blessing for the entire demon continent. I am here to extend a courtesy greeting to the new clan leader, and I bring with me a special gift prepared by the ancestral court for your noble clan." Tang San smiled. "You are too kind. Actually, it is quite the pleasant coincidence that you are here. I also have a matter I wish to report to the ancestral court. I would trouble you to bring my clan's request back with you this time." Ling Tian was taken aback, but like all his clan members, he was a natural-born diplomat, so he did not let it show. He smiled and nodded. "Please go ahead." Tang San said solemnly, "Since the ancestral tree fell into slumber, the members of my Blue Gold Tree clan have been hunted down by other clans for the vast life energy they possess. Many vile acts of kidnapping, imprisonment, and murder have been committed against our people, severely hindering our development. I seek the ancestral court's recognition as the new lord of Skytree City. At the same time, I request that whoever is holding our people against there will release them back to the clan, as well as return the remains of our deceased clan members." This time, Ling Tian's surprise was visible on his face. Clearly, he hadn't expected Tang San to make such a request. Everyone knew the benefits blue gold trees could bring, and direct descendants of the ancestral tree were even more valuable. For that reason, the Blue Gold Tree clan had long been bullied by everyone else. That was simply the status quo. Yet Tang San's request was entirely reasonable, especially since the Blue Gold Tree clan was in fact in possession of a main city. Before the ancestral tree's revival, this request would have been ignored. At most, the ancestral court would give a token reprimand against kidnapping blue gold trees, but they wouldn't truly intervene. However, the ancestral tree's revival was of monumental significance to the entire demon continent, and moreover, the ancestral tree's feat of striking down the adamant nymph emperor had shocked the entire land. Even the celestial fox demon emperor had immediately perked up and sent an envoy, aiming to solidify ties with the Blue Gold Tree clan. Tang San continued, "Those willing to comply with this will have their past offenses forgiven by our clan. However, if we discover any further acts of poaching or enslavement of our people, we will retaliate with full force. And this brings me to my third request. With the permission of the ancestral court, I will travel to the other main cities with the will of the ancestral tree to seek out the traces of our people and rescue the lost ones." As soon as he finished speaking, all the Blue Gold Tree clan elders present were taken aback. The reason their clansmen had been practically poached by others was that they were simply not skilled in combat. At the same level of cultivation, they were almost always the weakest. What Tang San said meant he was ready to take a firm stance to reclaim their people, which meant that conflict was almost inevitable. Although the ancestral tree had shown incredible power earlier, its husk was rooted here and couldn't move. How were they to fight other main cities? The Grand Elder was just about to say something when suddenly, the ancestral tree behind Tang San rippled with a layer of azure light. Each leaf glimmered with golden radiance, illuminating Tang San's figure as if it were coated in gold. Tang San's life aura surged again, giving off an even stronger sense of unity with the ancestral tree. Ling Tian's expression changed dramatically. He could clearly feel the sudden surge in Tang San's fortune, a massive pillar of light that soared all the way to heaven. With his seven-tailed cultivation, he actually found himself unable to look directly at this newly appointed Blue Gold Tree clan leader. Recalling the instructions given to him before he set out, Ling Tian respectfully said, "I will convey your will to the ancestral court. I have also brought a gift from His Majesty the Celestial Fox, to congratulate the clan on the ancestral tree's revival." As he spoke, he raised his hand, presenting Tang San with a translucent, glowing white object. Seeing what it was, even Tang San was downright stunned. It was a lotus seed, one of the fortune seeds in the pod at the center of the heavenly bloom. Back in the day, Tang San had used a number of such clusters of pure fortune to practically bribe the planar ruler, providing the foundation for his success in passing his tribulation. He hadn't expected that the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor would be so generous as to give one to the Blue Gold Tree clan. After all, Tang San knew its significance just as well as the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor himself. But Tang San immediately understood the intent behind this gift. The seed was something the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor had condensed himself, so it was connected to him and by extension to his clan. He aimed to use it in the same way Tang San had used his chaos energy, to connect to the ancestral tree's life energy and receive nourishment. At the same time, the fortune contained within the seed would also assist the ancestral tree in consolidating its life energy. It was a win-win scenario that meant the Celestial Fox clan would also solidify its relationship with the Blue Gold Tree clan. It seemed that the life essence gathered by the ancestral tree's revival had already brought enormous benefits to the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor, if it had prompted such an extravagant gesture. Tang San raised his right hand, summoning a gentle blue glow that enveloped the lotus seed and drew it toward him. After briefly inspecting it, he nodded in approval. "Please convey my thanks to His Majesty." Ling Tian smiled and nodded in return, saying, "His Majesty said that when you see this lotus seed, you will surely understand his intentions. At the same time, I can give you a response to your first request. As you are now the leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan, you are eligible to become the ruler of Sky Tree City. According to the ancestral court's rules, you are now the acting city lord, and you must report to the ancestral court's council within 1 year. Should you pass the evaluation, you will become the official city lord. His Majesty will fully support you when that time comes." Just like how Mei Gongzi had to undergo evaluation in order to take over Kali City, Tang San would have to go through the same process to become the official ruler of Sky Tree City. However, the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor's attitude this time was vastly different. The ancestral tree's resurgence greatly benefited the continent's fortune. Tang San was of the opinion that neither the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor nor any of the other emperors would prevent him from becoming city lord or ascending to emperorhood. Once the life essence became more concentrated, it was even possible that more emperors could emerge on the demon continent, and this would be a major boon. "Please extend my thanks to His Majesty. I will set out toward the ancestral court soon. In fact, I will first visit the other main cities to seek out our lost clan members, then proceed to the ancestral court to undertake the evaluation," Tang San said. Seeing Tang San's firm resolve, Ling Tian had nothing else to say in response. It was clear that the young nymph would not be persuaded to do otherwise. Moreover, it was clear that when he made this decision, he had the support of the ancestral tree. Nothing could be more important than that. All Ling Tian could do was report this to the ancestral court and let the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor handle things. After Ling Tian left, Tang San surreptitiously nudged the connection between himself and the ancestral tree. It seemed that after making his earlier declarations, the bond between him and the tree had noticeably strengthened. The ancestral tree's instincts had drawn it closer to him. Tang San now had a clear sense of the general direction he needed to take. "Grand Elder, please gather the council. I have something to announce," Tang San instructed. The Grand Elder looked at Jean Miarolan, who was bathed in the ancestral tree's radiance, and couldn't help but sigh inwardly. After a brief moment of hesitation, he spoke up. "Clan leader, regarding the matter of going to other main cities to reclaim our people, I feel that you should reconsider. While we all wish to do this, our clan is almost powerless in combat. If conflict arises, especially in cities where emperors are stationed, we will be disadvantaged." Tang San looked at him calmly and nodded. I understand that. And if the ancestral tree had been dormant, this would have been impossible indeed. But now that it has awakened, things are quite different. The power of the ancestral tree is our power, and we shall no longer be suppressed. Why should a glorious clan like ours be forced to cower in fear and live in a cage? Since I am the clan leader now, I fully intend to restore our clan to its rightful status, and this requires a deterrent force. I will let those who would hunt us down know that the heirs of the ancestral tree are no weaklings. Please rest assured, Grand Elder. I did not make this decision on impulse. I have been communicating with the ancestral tree for the past week, and these are not just my thoughts but its thoughts as well. The power of the ancestral tree will, yes, even if we face an emperor. Allow me to show you. As Tang San spoke, he raised his hand, and a faint beam of golden light shot from his palm, landing on the Grand Elder. Immediately, the Grand Elder felt warmth spread through his body. As a high-level master of life energy himself, he instantly understood what had just occurred. He could sense the blessing of the ancestral tree imprinted onto his soul, forging a closer connection between him and the tree, and granting him the ability to tap into its power. The Grand Elder's eyes widened in disbelief, and he was overcome with emotion. Gratitude and remorse surged in his heart as he knelt toward the ancestral tree, and Tang San, with tears streaming down his face. Clan leader, thank you for the ancestral tree's blessing, and thank you for your forgiveness. When Jin Miaolin first returned, the Grand Elder had obstructed him at every turn, unwilling to let him inherit the ancestral tree's power. Now, however, he was repaying enmity with kindness, bestowing a portion of the ancestral tree's strength upon the Grand Elder, and allowing the Elder to tap into the tree's power. This completely won over the once self-centered Grand Elder, who now fully realized the depth of Jin Miaolin's connection with the ancestral tree. It was to an unimaginable degree. A few minutes later, the Grand Elder had all the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan gather before the ancestral tree. Without saying a word, Tang San waved his hand, and beams of golden light from the tree shone upon each elder. When the elders sensed the change in their connection with the ancestral tree, they were filled with astonishment and joy. The ancestral tree's imprint meant they could all now draw on its power to some extent. I believe that you understand my message. This is the blessing of the ancestral tree for each of us. What we must now do is ensure its radiance reaches every member of the Blue Gold Tree clan. Every member. I will soon travel to other places to bring back our lost kin. Once we have achieved this, the ancestral tree's light will shine even brighter, granting us even more power. The Blue Gold Tree clan shall stand tall, and we shall cower no more. The time for hiding is over. From today onward, we walk proudly in the sunlight. Yes, we will faithfully follow the ancestral tree's decree, and your orders, clan leader. All the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan respectfully knelt before Tang San with full submission. Tang San smiled slightly and said, "Over the next month, I'll guide everyone in understanding the power of the ancestral tree. Then we will set off. I've already petitioned the ancestral court to inform the major cities of our demands. If within a month they still haven't released our clansmen, then it will be time for us to take action." After giving these instructions, Tang San ordered the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan to cultivate on their own, to experience the benefits of the ancestral tree's blessing. Then, he too went into seclusion, not by the ancestral tree's side, but in the residence that had long been prepared for the clan leader. Jin Miaosin had always followed closely beside Tang San, and naturally, she too had received the radiance of the ancestral tree. Her reverence for this long-lost elder brother far surpassed that of the elders. She had never expected to see him again, much less that his arrival would resolve the Blue Gold Tree clan's major issues in such a short time, and even show hope for the clan's rise. This was what every Blue Gold Tree longed for in their dreams. As a direct descendant of the ancestral tree, what could be more thrilling than this? After seeing Jin Miaosin off, Tang San closed the door, sat cross-legged on the bed, and began to reflect on the gains from this journey, including his interactions with the Fire Dawn clan in the Magma Red Sea. Without a doubt, the experience with the Blue Gold Tree clan was a pleasant surprise for him, but it was equally a great boon for the entire Demon Continent. Unintentionally triggered by Tang San's chaos energy, the ancestral tree's awakening was an incredibly good thing for the entire continent. The previously dwindling fortune of both demons and nymphs had begun to rise again. At the forefront of this, the greatest beneficiary was the Celestial Fox clan, which was not something Tang San had hoped to see. But what was done was done. The power of the ancestral tree, stemming from the very life source of the planet, was so immense that even if Tang San wanted to undo it now, he wouldn't be able to. Any attempt to disrupt it would inevitably provoke the wrath of the planar ruler. The life source of a planet was the foundation of its existence and evolution. Nothing could be more important than that. Therefore, all he could do now was go with the flow and guide the situation. Although the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor had previously suffered heavy losses and laid low, with the return of fortune, his strength would undoubtedly recover substantially, and he could possibly even surpass his former peak. All of this was the result of the Blue Gold Tree clan, or rather, the ancestral tree's gifts to him. The fact that the ancestral court sent envoys, members of the Celestial Fox clan, showed that the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor intended to offer goodwill to the Blue Gold Tree clan and establish a relationship with the ancestral tree, so he could make use of its life energy in the future. It also served to confirm whether the ancestral tree's awakening was indeed genuine. Thus, when Tang San headed to the ancestral court for his evaluation, he would undoubtedly gain the full support of the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. Naturally, the evaluation for a city of the Solstice Empire would be conducted by the Nymph Emperors, but as the one in charge of the ancestral court, the words of the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor carried significant weight. As for whether the emperors of the nymph races would support him, Tang San had no worries at all. On the demon continent, strength had always been the ultimate authority. Back when Mei Gongzi gave her report, she faced difficulties due to a lack of power and the fact that other emperors could have reasonably taken control of Kali City. But these issues didn't exist for the Blue Gold Tree clan. Because of the ancestral tree, even while it was completely dormant, no emperor dared to seize this land from the Blue Gold Tree clan. They feared that if they took Skytree City and the ancestral tree awakened, what would they do then? Now that the ancestral tree had indeed awakened, even if Tang San just went there and introduced himself as the new lord of Skytree City, nobody would have any objection. The major nymph races needed to consider whether the life energy controlled by the ancestral tree would favor them. The most powerful clans of the Solstice Empire were all plant-type nymphs after all, and this life energy was key to their evolution. In other words, they had to make sure the Blue Gold Tree clan was on their side. Even Tang San hadn't anticipated that the greatest benefit from this journey would come from the far side of the demon continent. The Blue Gold Tree clan would bring him far more than he had ever imagined. Going forward, Tang San had a great deal of maneuverability. He could now better respond to the challenges that Mei Gongzi would soon face. Sadly, it wasn't the right time to tell her about any of this. Otherwise, when he met her as Jean Miaolin in the future, the emperors might figure that there was something going on between them, and that would be too dangerous. Light flickered, and the space-time lighthouse silently appeared before Tang San. As his cultivation improved, this divine artifact that he had created continued to evolve as well. This was one of his most important gains in this lifetime, an item that allowed him to manipulate some of the most fundamental forces of the universe. If Tang San could wield the powers of time and space effectively, it wouldn't just help him regain his former strength. It would also be the key to opening even broader worlds when he returned to his divine realm. As long as Tang San could return to the God King level, the space-time lighthouse would also become a transcendent divine weapon, on par with the Sea God Trident and the Azura God Sword. Tang San's eyes lit up, as the space-time lighthouse floating in front of him emitted a gentle glow as it was infused by his divine consciousness. The soft light quickly enveloped him, then dissipated as if it had been nothing more than an illusion. Tang San was seated cross-legged, just as he had been moments before, and everything looked completely normal. Even his aura and life force showed no signs of change. Silver light swirled, giving off a faint aura of killing intent. A subtle red glow flickered on Mei Gongzi's forehead, causing the silver light to become like a sharp blade as it rippled through the air. This sharpness easily tore through the surrounding space, and from each tear, an abundance of space energy surged forth, soaking into her body. In the days without Tang San, she spent most of her time in secluded cultivation. She knew very well that many challenges awaited her, and she couldn't rely entirely on him. Only by strengthening herself could she truly work with him to overcome the difficult trials ahead. The management of Kali City was naturally left to Luo Qingzhu, while Shao He handled the affairs of the Skytree realm. The former Peacock Great Demon King had fully adapted to his new life and was performing outstandingly in his role. Naturally, since they had no idea about his previous identity, humans gladly accepted his leadership. With the help of the Sea Giant clan and the Sea Sky Tree clan, a territory was slowly being built between the islands of the endless blue sea. Although it would take a long time to complete, things were moving according to plan and everyone was thriving. Meanwhile, on the Demon Continent, the Redemption Society surreptitiously gathered humans from all over, concentrating them into larger settlements hidden in remote areas. When the time was right, all it would take was one large teleportation array, and the humans could be transported away in a short period of time. Of course, this full-scale teleportation could only begin once Mei Gongzi or Tang San ascended to emperorhood. Knowing all of this and understanding the weight of her responsibilities, Mei Gongzi cultivated more diligently than ever, after more than a year of nurturing the Azura sword, and due to her deep connection with it from her previous life, Mei Gongzi was becoming increasingly attuned to this transcendent divine weapon. Back in the day, she was barely able to unleash one single strike using the Seed of Sword Intent, and that was only with Tang San's help. Now she could wield it freely all by herself. The continuous nurturing coupled with her growing strength made Mei Gongzi feel the Azura sword drawing ever closer to her. She could sense its true form with increasing clarity. According to Tang San's plan, when she ascended to emperorhood, the Azura sword would arrive. And with it looming nearby, she would instantly become one of the strongest emperors, if not even the strongest, and that would truly allow her to command the attention of the ancestral court. Through cultivation, Mei Gongzi had integrated the Azura sword's judgment sword intent into her control over spatial power, and she discovered that manipulating space became much easier this way. Space energy was extremely active and very powerful, and it required a high level of divine consciousness to control. This was the case even though the space element greatly favored her due to her bloodline. However, once the judgment sword intent came into play, everything changed drastically. For one, the sword intent caused a profound transformation in Mei Gongzi's entire being. It made her sharper, more resolute, and stronger overall. At the same time, its cutting power stabilized the spatial rifts she opened, making it much easier for her to absorb space energy. And the more energy she absorbed, the stronger her ability to manipulate space. In effect, a positive reinforcement cycle. The more she attuned herself to this divine weapon, the more she realized how immense the benefits were. With each day that passed, she could feel her strength steadily increasing. A soft glow appeared in Mei Gongzi's secluded chamber, and from it, a faint ethereal figure emerged. When the figure appeared, Mei Gongzi didn't react at all. Not even her divine consciousness sensed it. It was the slight flicker of red light on her forehead that emitted a sense of closeness toward the ethereal figure, which finally startled Mei Gongzi out of her cultivation. The surrounding spatial rifts instantly aligned in neat order, forming silver halos around her, as if connecting different spaces. At the same time, Mei Gongzi's eyes snapped open. When she saw the figure, naturally Tang San, her heart tightened and she blurted out instinctively, "What happened to you? Why are you?" Tang San smiled and waved his hand casually. It's fine, I'm not dead. It's just that I can't exactly teleport back right now, at least not physically, so I use the space-time lighthouse to transmit my divine consciousness to you. Since it's only my divine consciousness and I am using the space-time lighthouse, the energy consumption is very small. We don't need to set up a large teleportation array for that. Hearing this, Mei Gongzi finally let out a sigh of relief but complained a little. But this way we can't hug. Seeing her wistful eyes, Tang San couldn't hold back and chuckled. All right, I promise that next time I'll come back as a whole. Or maybe I'll just send my body back to have fun. Mei Gongzi giggled and said, I'm just thinking of you. I'm afraid you might want it. Yes, you're right. I do want it. I mean a hug, Tang San said with a smile, his survival instincts on full display in moments. He looked Mei Gongzi up and down, then started praising her. Oh, very impressive. You've made a lot of progress lately. You're even more in control of space now, and your use of space energy has improved significantly. You're even making use of the judgment sword intent to manipulate space. Mei Gongzi puffed her cheeks in indignation. I can't have fun with you figuring out things like that. Come on, I wanted to show off a bit. My connection with the Azura sword is so close now. Watch this. As she spoke, she raised her hand and made a grasping motion. With a flash of red light, and a simple crimson longsword about a meter long materialized in her hand. The moment the sword appeared, Mei Gongzi's aura transformed. It was a majestic presence, as if she ruled over the world. In front of her, all beings could only bow and tremble. This was the aura of the Azura sword, the supreme sword of a divine realm, wielding the power to judge all in existence. Though Mei Gongzi still didn't have the actual sword in hand, its aura had already begun to fully manifest. Tang San gave her a thumbs up and said, "The Azura sword has started to take shape. As I'm sure you felt, it's getting closer to you. Keep going, reinforce your connection with it as your life-bound divine weapon. Keep nurturing that seed of sword intent within you. As long as this transcendent divine weapon is with you, you will be indestructible." This was exactly what Tang San had been aiming for ever since he had met Mei Gongzi. Xiao Wu's death had been a devastating blow to him, so after reincarnating, he had constantly thought about how to prevent his wife from ever facing such a crisis again once he found her. Without a doubt, merging with a transcendent divine weapon was the best solution. Transcendent divine weapons were practically eternal, lasting through the ages, impervious to all but the most calamitous events of heaven and earth. By making a transcendent divine weapon her life-bound artifact, she would be protected as long as the weapon existed. Even if her physical body was destroyed, her powerful divine consciousness and the core energy of the transcendent divine weapon would allow her to be reborn by absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. And now, with the addition of her Phoenix Bloodline's Nirvana rebirth ability, in terms of survivability, she probably even surpassed Tang San. After all, her Phoenix Bloodline was innate, and she could use it to much better effect. Mei Gongzi nodded and asked, "Where have you been lately?" Tang San smiled gently. "I've returned to the Demon Continent, but this time I'm actually in the Solstice Empire. I've never seen these parts, so I'm planning to explore for a while. Don't worry." Hearing that he had returned to the Demon Continent, Mei Gongzi breathed a sigh of relief. Even though the sea was Tang San's domain, she still felt uneasy when they weren't in the same area. Now that he was back on the Demon Continent, although on the complete opposite side of it, she felt much more at ease. Don't forget about the matchmaking tournament. You better be back in time for that. But speaking of that, I don't think it's a good idea for you to participate as the sea god. We don't know how the ancestral court might react to that. I'm a little worried, Mei Gongzi said, frowning. Oh, actually, I came back to tell you that I don't plan to participate in the tournament using my identity as the sea god. You're right, it might really trigger a reaction we don't want. It's probably for the best to keep things mysterious. Although the ancestral court believes that there is some entity calling itself the sea god, they don't know whether the sea god is an emperor or something else. Keeping this secret for the time being might actually be the best strategy. Huh, so you're not participating? Mei Gongzi's reaction was much more intense this time. Tang San immediately laughed, feeling a warm sensation in his heart as he saw her anxious expression. You're laughing? Are you just going to leave me alone? What if I can't beat everyone? Mei Gongzi said angrily. Although she now had great confidence in her strength, especially with the Azura sword in her possession, she still wasn't sure she could defeat every single top-tier fighter below the emperor level. After all, many of these competitors were direct heirs of emperors or even established successors to an emperor's throne and city lords like Donghua, with decades of accumulated power and powerful artifacts at their disposal. They were definitely not easy to deal with. Tang San's ethereal figure floated in front of her and raised his hand to rub her head. Although he was just a phantom, Mei Gongzi was surprised to find that she could actually feel his touch. Don't be silly, how could I ever leave you alone? Don't worry, I'll definitely be there for the matchmaking tournament. No one will take my wife from me, but we have to keep the other emperors from suspecting anything, so I can't tell you which identity I'll use. You'll find out then. Just trust that I'll always be there to protect you. That's more like it. Mei Gongzi huffed but took a step forward and nestled into his embrace. I'm at a loss, Tang San said with a wry smile. Why are you at a loss? Mei Gongzi asked curiously. You can feel the touch, but I can't. It's only my divine consciousness, Tang San said helplessly. What do you mean, only? It's literally heart to heart. How much closer can we get? You should be satisfied. It's your own fault for not bringing your body back, serves you right. The two stayed close like that for a while. For Mei Gongzi, this was a rare moment of relaxation during a long period of intense cultivation. A gentle smile appeared on her face, and she was filled with contentment. Tang San asked about the situation of the Skytree realm, and after confirming that both Kali City and the Skytree realm were in good order, he felt relieved. In this period, Tang San was confident that the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor wouldn't have time to cause trouble in Kali City. With the revival of the ancestral tree, the demon continent had been infused with immense life force and fortune, making this the best time for the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor to cultivate. As for the other demon emperors, they didn't concern Tang San. Out of the 8 demon emperors, 4 were now on Mei Gongzi's side. What was there to fear? Next, it would depend on how much of a stir he could cause among the nymphs. Once they weathered this storm, it would be time for him and Mei Gongzi to face their greatest challenge yet. As long as they could become emperors, not a single being of this plane would be able to stand in their way. After spending some tender moments with Mei Gongzi, Tang San used the space-time lighthouse to return to Skytree City. Everything remained as it was. Even though his divine consciousness had departed, his physical body continued to cultivate, absorbing the abundant life energy. Tang San was no longer focused on raising his cultivation level. That was easy. Nurturing his life essence, however, was a different thing altogether. And with the ancestral tree's radiance shining upon him, there was no better time or place. He was practically using the life source of all Phelan planet to nourish himself, preparing for a powerful breakthrough. For the next month, Tang San remained in the inner city, guiding the elders in understanding the changes brought by the ancestral tree's imprint. The high-ranking members of the Blue Gold Tree clan all felt as though they had been completely transformed. The revival of the ancestral tree had a significant impact on the entire demon continent. The ancestral court officially announced the ancestral tree's awakening and declared that Jean Miaolin was eligible to become the acting lord of Skytree City. After undergoing the ancestral court's evaluation, he would formally become city lord. At the same time, the ancestral court issued a decree to all races and clans of the continent. The decree stated that any imprisonment or exploitation of the Blue Gold Tree clan members must be immediately halted, and anything related to the clan must be returned to them. Otherwise, the Blue Gold Tree clan had the right to handle the matter themselves as they saw fit. The wording of the decree was somewhat vague, not overly harsh, but for Tang San it was more than enough. What he needed was not for the decree to have immediate effect, but rather for it to confer legitimacy to his own actions later. Indeed, by the time he and the elders finished their month-long seclusion, no members or remains of the Blue Gold Tree clan had been returned. It was as if the various races were entirely unaware of the ancestral court's decree, or they had nothing to do with this matter. All of this was within Tang San's expectations. You won't send them back? Fine. I'll go and take them back myself. Tang San ordered the Grand Elder to stay behind and act in his stead as the city lord and clan leader. He then prepared to leave with 12 of the clan's elders, including 2 great demon kings, setting off eastbound. Among these 12 elders was his younger sister, Jean Miaosan. Tang San had thought carefully about this. First, Jean Miaosan had insisted on accompanying him, and second, what if the real Jean Miaolin wasn't dead and actually ended up returning? This was a problem Tang San had to consider. It was the only flaw in his current persona. Leading a group of elders to visit other cities served multiple purposes. First, it was to gather momentum so when he underwent the evaluation he would have some clear results to show. Second, it was to retrieve the Blue Gold Tree clan's people. Third, it was to search for the real Jean Miaolin. If he could find him and resolve the issue of the true ancestral tree's heir, his identity would be secure, with no more loose ends. By bringing Jean Miaosan along, it would be easier to confirm the identity of Jean Miaolin. Furthermore, if the real Jean Miaolin returned to the Blue Gold Tree clan while Jean Miaosan wasn't present, no one would believe his claim. The Grand Elder had already been won over by Tang San, and if anyone tried to say they were Jean Miaolin, they wouldn't even get the chance to seek the ancestral tree's approval. They would be detained by the Grand Elder. He wasn't worried about encountering the real Jin Miaolin along the way. Given the power of his blue gold tree bloodline, if the real Jin Miaolin showed up, Tang San's divine consciousness and life force would detect him long before Jin Miaosan could spot Tang San. He would have plenty of time to handle the situation accordingly. The Grand Elder, along with all the other elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan, escorted Tang San and his group all the way to the gates of Sky Tree City. Originally, the Grand Elder wanted Tang San to take even more elders with him, and he himself had planned to go as well. After all, Sky Tree City was now under the protection of the awakened ancestral tree, so there were no security concerns. But Tang San explained that his journey wasn't to attack other clans. It was to take back their clansmen. Mobilizing too many powerful members of the Blue Gold Tree clan could raise issues of legitimacy. It would be more effective to travel with a smaller group. The Grand Elder no longer insisted. All elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan now obeyed Tang San without question. "Alright, elders, please return. Once I am done with my evaluation at the ancestral court, I will return," Tang San said, nodding slightly in respect to the elders who had come to see them off. "Farewell, clan leader. We wish you success in retrieving our clansmen." The elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan bowed in unison, showing their utmost respect to Tang San. "No worries, I will retrieve them." Tang San couldn't help but snicker inwardly at his own terrible punwan, but he didn't let it show on his face and simply nodded back at them. His figure flickered as he rose into the sky, leading the others toward the east. Their first stop was naturally the nearest main city in the Solstice Empire, Adamant City. Not long ago, the Adamant Nymph Emperor had paid them a visit, and as the saying goes, it would be rude not to return the favor. This was Tang San's first target on the journey. Jin Miaosan flew alongside Tang San, glancing around excitedly as they traveled, her face filled with curiosity. Obviously, she hadn't left Sky Tree City in a long time. Even ordinary members of the Blue Gold Tree clan were considered rare treasures, so what more of a nymph king, and one with the bloodline of the ancestral tree at that? If a nymph king or demon king devoured the life force of such a blue gold tree, they would almost certainly reach the 11th order, and their power would increase tremendously. Thus, Jin Miaosan could hardly be any more valuable, both to her clan and to outsiders. Though the Grand Elder did not get along with her, he would never want her to fall into the hands of others. Thus, ever since she was a young sapling, she had been strictly forbidden to leave the inner city. For decades, Jin Miaosan had been cooped up in the small inner city, and she had become quite frustrated. Now that she could finally leave with full approval, her excitement was by far the strongest among the elders present. She was constantly looking around, thrilled by everything she saw. Sensing her genuine excitement, Tang San couldn't help but sigh inwardly. He had developed a bit of fondness for this little sister of his. It wasn't just because of the bloodline imprint she had bestowed upon him, but also out of a sense of responsibility to the Blue Gold Tree clan. Having gained so much from the ancestral tree, he sincerely wanted to give back to the clan. It was also a way to maintain harmony with the planar ruler and pave the way for his future ascension to emperor. Unlike most other demon and nymph clans, the Blue Gold Tree clan had never harmed others. Rather, they had only been harmed by others. Since the ancestral tree fell into slumber, this once powerful clan had suffered constant bullying. Were it not for the presence of the ancestral tree's true body, the benefits they offered to other clans might have already led to their extinction. They were forced to endure a life of great hardship. Now that Tang San had awakened the ancestral tree and gained immense benefits from it, it was time for him to give back to the Blue Gold Tree clan. This would achieve several goals: repaying the ancestral tree, strengthening his relationship with this plane, ensuring the continued survival of the life-rich Blue Gold Tree clan, and laying the foundation for future cooperation between this clan and humanity. During his time with them, Tang San had learned that this clan had never enslaved others. They were born to continuously release their life aura, gather life energy, and then spread that energy throughout the world. This was the core mission left behind by the ancestral tree. Even the selfish Grand Elder only sought to become stronger without harming others. If humans could maintain a good relationship with the Blue Gold Tree clan in the future, it would greatly benefit the propagation and survival of the human race. Though humans were already among the larger vassal races on the demon continent, their numbers still paled in comparison to the vast populations of the demon and nymph clans. According to Tang San's estimates, even if all the humans were counted together, their population would only number in the millions. Humans had suffered too much oppression on this plane, but human reproduction and survival would become much easier with sufficient life energy to nourish them. An adequate population was crucial to the rise of humanity on this plane. This journey was not only for Tang San to break through and find his path to becoming an emperor, but also to find the most suitable path for human development. Over many years, demons and nymphs had accumulated so much fortune that they had become incredibly powerful on this plane. Although they only dominated this continent, it was not wrong to say they ruled the entire land. To carve out sufficient space for humans to survive, and even surpass them to become the masters of this plane in the future, humans would need more than just their own strength. Jean Miaosan flew joyfully through the sky, zigzagging and darting forward and back, occasionally letting out cheers. Her life energy radiated continuously in the air, purifying the atmosphere wherever she passed. The other elders followed Tang San, and although they didn't express their joy as openly as Jean Miaosan, each of them carried a sense of relief and excitement. After spending so many years confined to a small corner of the world, how could they not feel a mountain of frustration? Now, as they left Skytree City, they felt a renewed sense of vitality, and without realizing it, their auras started to shift slightly. Although the life energy outside was nowhere near as rich as in Skytree City, as the life energy they radiated permeated the external world, they received feedback from the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, making them feel more connected to nature. While this change didn't directly enhance their cultivation, it subtly elevated their divine consciousness. This was the result of a clear mind and spirit, leading to a quiet transformation of their awareness. As descendants of the ancestral tree, the Blue Gold Tree Clan were a class above other plants. When they flew through the sky, they could sense the vegetation on the ground cheering for them. Any plant that absorbed a trace of the Blue Gold Tree Clan's life energy would benefit greatly in its evolution. A faint, white glow radiated from Tang San's eyes as he flew at the front of the group. His discerning eye of heaven was activated, but he was completely unafraid of the Blue Gold Tree Clan elders noticing. The basic power of his celestial fox vision was now at the level of a seven-tailed celestial fox, but combined with his powerful divine consciousness, it granted Tang San fortune control far surpassing that of an ordinary celestial fox demon king. Through the discerning eye of heaven, Tang San could clearly see a subtle connection between the plants on the ground and the Blue Gold Tree Clan elders in the sky. The plants slowly evolved under the influence of the clan's aura, and in turn, they emitted faint ripples of fortune, feeding back to the Blue Gold Tree Clan. This process was very much like the faith energy feedback he himself received as the sea god. In this way, the fortune of the Blue Gold Tree Clan was gradually and subtly being elevated. This realization deepened Tang San's understanding of the ancestral tree. He knew that although the ancestral tree's awakening was still in its incipient stages and the tree was barely sentient, it had instinctively started to gather fortune, preparing for a more thorough awakening. Of course, as their fortune increased, the entire Blue Gold Tree Clan would undoubtedly benefit greatly. Sensing these changes, Tang San altered his flight path. He no longer flew directly toward Adamant City. Instead, guided by his divine consciousness, he shifted directions toward tree-rich areas, forests and woodlands. Soon, the second elder, one of the clan's great nymph kings, noticed the change and flew beside Tang San, asking in a low voice, "Clan leader, I don't mean to be impolite, but are you sure we're going in the right direction?" Tang San smiled faintly and said, "The ancestral tree's blessings should reach all living things. All trees are the ancestral tree's children. We need to let the ancestral tree's radiance shine upon them, and let them know that the ancestral tree has awakened, spreading its will through them." The second elder's heart stirred, and he seemed to understand something. "I will follow your orders." Although the elders didn't have the celestial fox vision, much less the discerning eye of heaven, they all had divine consciousness. They couldn't see things as clearly as Tang San did, but after the ancestral tree's blessing was imprinted on their souls, they could vaguely sense changes in fortune, and they could feel a growing closeness to the vegetation around them. The vegetation in the Solstice Empire had always been extremely lush. Though there was a massive variety of nymphs of all kinds, plant-type nymphs vastly outnumbered all others combined. Using his divine consciousness, Tang San specifically sought out areas with the densest vegetation and activated his blue gold tree bloodline power and the ancestral tree's imprint, drawing fortune from these areas. The ancestral tree operated on instinct alone, and as its representative, Tang San was also a conduit for this fortune. He used his bloodline imprint to channel most of the fortune back to the ancestral tree, while absorbing the excess himself. Coupled with the constant faith energy flowing in from the endless blue sea, Tang San found it hard to even look at his own surging fortune. It was truly overwhelming, like a rainbow arcing across the sky. The celestial fox demon emperor believed that the ancestral tree's awakening would greatly benefit the fortune of the entire demon continent. On the other hand, Tang San now found he could compete for that fortune. With only his discerning eye of heaven, this would never have been possible. But with the addition of the ancestral tree's blessing, it was a different story. This blessing stemmed in the life source of the entire plane, a power at the absolute peak of the emperor level. For a long time, the ancestral court had been controlled by demons. This was because of overwhelming fighting power, but also because they dominated the fortune of the continent. So what would happen if someone in the Solstice Empire could also control fortune? Due to the change in their flight path, it was 7 days before Tang San and the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan arrived at Adamant City. During these 7 days, Tang San had led the elders across almost every major forest and woodland between Skytree City and Adamant City, spreading the aura of the ancestral tree. This made Tang San noticeably feel his own fortune surge. Even without absorbing higher-level celestial fox bloodline power, his discerning eye of heaven seemed on the verge of evolving. And then there was the fortune seed he carried. If he absorbed it, his discerning eye of heaven could easily break through to the 11th order. From a distance in the sky they could see Adamant City, a city built entirely of stone. It was surrounded by lush vegetation on all sides. However, within the city itself, there were no plants at all, making it appear from above as if a bald spot had been carved into the land. Tang San hovered in midair, with the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan stopping a short distance behind him. As his divine consciousness swept over the area, he was shocked. This Adamant City was truly wealthy. It was technically correct to say that Adamant City was made of stone. Technically, both the city walls and the houses inside were made of nothing but precious minerals. The closer to the center of the city, the rarer the materials. If the entire city were properly refined, who knew how many valuable gems could be cut and what amount of precious metals could be extracted? It was well known that most of the currency on the continent, especially the higher-tier currency, was produced by nymphs, with Adamant City being a major producer of Naturi coins. It was no surprise that on the entire continent, Adamant City ranked among the very wealthiest, and the Adamant Nymph clan, which controlled the surrounding mountains and their resources, was among the wealthiest clans. With a wave of his hand, Tang San led the Blue Gold Tree clan elders forward. As they entered the outer perimeter 10 kilometers from Adamant City, several powerful divine consciousnesses swept over them. Tang San stopped again and waited there. Before long, 3 figures shot out from the direction of Adamant City. Even from a long distance away, the light they radiated was clearly visible. The Adamant Nymph clan's most prominent racial trait was their armor, which was not an external item but part of their body. As they reached maturity, members of the Adamant Nymph clan were at the 6th order or above, and at that point they could shape themselves into any form. Most of them, seeking to display their high-level strength and hoping to one day become nymph kings, would shape themselves into humanoid forms. Of course, only their overall appearance was humanoid. They were different on a fundamental level. At the same time, they would begin truly working on their armor and weapons. As their cultivation grew, the armor and weapons would become stronger along with them. The 3 Adamant Nymph kings who flew up to Tang San were each covered in magnificent armor, radiating different colors. This was yet another characteristic of the Adamant Nymphs. Adamant itself had no special properties other than its incredible toughness, but precisely because of that, the Adamant Nymphs were able to absorb the characteristics of other rare minerals, adding additional traits to their bodies through cultivation and evolution. As a result, while all Adamant Nymphs shared the toughness trait, they actually came in a pretty wide palette when it came to their secondary trait. Of course, to maximize the strength of their secondary trait, They typically focused on a single one. The Nymph King in the center was clad in fiery red crystal armor, exuding strong fire energy. The two Nymph Kings on either side wore yellow earth element armor and green wind element crystal armor, respectively. Their armor shone brilliantly, making them appear far more striking than the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan. However, when the three adamant Nymph Kings approached and felt the aura radiating from the Blue Gold Tree clan elders, their expressions changed slightly. Even their faces, which glittered as if covered in crystal powder, showed signs of surprise. Tang San, along with the second and third elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan, bore 8 spikes on their backs, signifying their great Nymph King power. Additionally, the other 10 members of the group were all Nymph Kings themselves. So many powerful beings in one group was an extremely rare sight. In the past, these adamant Nymph Kings might have looked down on the Blue Gold Tree clan's Nymph Kings, but they knew well that not long ago, the adamant Nymph Emperor had suffered a loss in front of the ancestral tree. Furthermore, the ancestral court had officially recognized Jean Mirolan as the new leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan, and they were waiting for him to submit his formal report. Friends of the Blue Gold Tree clan, what brings you to Adamant City? The Fire Adamant Nymph King asked in a deep voice. Tang San did not speak. Instead, the second elder flew forward and said in a loud voice, "We greet the Nymph Kings of the Adamant Nymph clan. This is the new leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan, Jean Mirolan, here to pay respects to its majesty the Adamant. Please inform him of our visit." The 3 adamant Nymph Kings exchanged glances, feeling rather peculiar. Before the ancestral tree's awakening, if anyone had told them that the clan leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan was coming to visit the adamant Nymph Emperor, they would have laughed and even mocked the idea, questioning the Blue Gold Tree clan's qualifications to even leave their own courtyard. But the ancestral tree's miraculous manifestation, along with the ancestral court's acknowledgement of its awakening, made them think twice before they acted. The leading Fire Adamant Nymph King said in a deep voice, "Please wait a moment while I request instructions from its majesty." It then turned and shot off like a fiery meteor, leaving the other 2 adamant Nymph Kings standing in front of Tang San and his group. Tang San remained calm, his gaze passing over the 2 Nymph Kings as he unleashed his divine consciousness, unrestrained, to scan the area toward Adamant City, sensing the situation within the city. The 2 adamant Nymph Kings instinctively tried to block him with their own divine consciousness, but the moment their consciousness touched Tang San's, they were instantly suppressed, unable to move. It was nothing but the pure aura of a superior being, leaving them with no room to resist. As they looked at Tang San again, they felt a sense of authority emanating from him. He was not angry and neither was he actively trying to suppress them, but the sheer magnitude of his power made them feel like ants. Not long after, 2 beams of light shot out from Adamant City. Besides the Fire Adamant Nymph King from earlier, there was a much brighter figure approaching. The armor it wore glowed with a faint golden hue, and the earth element aura it radiated was far more intense than that of the other 3 Nymph Kings. This was an adamant Great Nymph King. Due to obvious reasons, the earth element made for the strongest adamant nymphs, and throughout their history, almost all of their clan leaders, whether emperors or not, had been earth attribute adamant nymphs. "I am Jin Chenguan, Deputy Lord of Adamant City. Greetings, Your Highness," said the Great Nymph King, nodding slightly in greeting to Tang San. "Greetings, Deputy City Lord Jin. May I ask if Its Majesty the Adamant Nymph Emperor is in the city?" Tang San asked calmly. Jin Chenggu replied with a regretful expression, "I'm afraid Its Majesty left for the ancestral court a while back and has not returned yet. Your timing is most unfortunate." "Oh? His Majesty isn't here? That is unfortunate indeed. I am here on behalf of my clan to visit before my report to the ancestral court," Tang San said, also showing a hint of regret. Jin Chenggu said, "Since you are heading to the ancestral court to report, you should be able to meet His Majesty then." That's true. Tang San nodded and said, "In that case, we'll trouble you by staying in Adamant City for a day. We'll continue our journey tomorrow. Please, Deputy City Lord, lead the way." Jin Chenggu looked at Tang San, a trace of surprise flashing in his eyes. Did he not make himself clear? Was his subtle suggestion for them to leave too vague? Or was the other party just pretending not to understand? But no matter how he felt, Tang San was the lord of Skytree City and the leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan. Even before the ancestral tree's awakening, such a visit couldn't be turned away. Just like visiting unannounced was a breach of the ancestral court's rules, whoever rejected a sanctioned visit would be held in contempt by the ancestral court. Thus, despite its reluctance, Jin Chenggu had no choice but to step aside and gesture for Tang San to enter. "If your highness doesn't mind our meager conditions, please come into the city to rest." Tang San smiled faintly and said, "Adamant City is famed for its wealth. I believe that your conditions would only be too good for us. Please lead the way, Deputy City Lord." As he spoke, he moved to Jin Chengwu's side and they flew toward Adamant City. The elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan and the 3 Adamant Nymph Kings followed closely behind. Jin Chengwu landed outside Adamant City, following the rule that no one apart from emperors may fly over a major city without permission. Naturally, Tang San didn't mind and followed Jin Chengwu through the city gates into Adamant City. Entering Adamant City felt like stepping into another world for the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan. The life energy inside the city was noticeably weaker compared to the outside, but the elemental energy was incredibly rich. There was energy of all attributes, and upon closer inspection, it became clear that it came from the buildings themselves. Each structure emitted varying levels of elemental energy, with a strange yet dynamic mix. Tang San expanded his divine consciousness, sensing the composition of the city's various structures. This place was truly fascinating. For example, a blacksmith shop was clearly built from fire element stone, while a building that seemed to be a restaurant of sorts was made of water element stone. The larger and more elaborate the buildings were, the higher the quality of the stone used. Tang San couldn't help but marvel inwardly. The demon continent was indeed a wondrous place, beyond anything he could have imagined. "Is this your first time in Adamant City, Your Highness?" Jin Chenggu asked casually, not betraying any emotion. Tang San nodded. "Indeed, it's my first time here." Behind him, Jin Miaosen couldn't hold back and said, "How would our clansmen dare to come here? They might as well walk straight into a fire pit and burn themselves to death." Jin Chengwu's face showed surprise. "What do you mean by that, Blue Gold Tree Nymph King?" Jin Miaosen was about to deliver a retort, but Tang San raised a hand to stop her. "My sister is young and impulsive. Please don't take it to heart, Deputy City Lord." Jin Chengwu's expression changed slightly, but it smiled and said, "If she is your sister, that means she must be a direct descendant of the ancestral tree. My respects." Tang San waved his hand dismissively. "No need for such courtesy, Deputy City Lord. Actually, I wanted to ask you something. Not long ago, at the request of our clan, the ancestral court issued a decree. It requires that all clans or individuals holding our clan members or remnants they may have enslaved or detained release them back to our clan. I wonder if you are aware of this, Deputy City Lord." Although Tang San's tone was casual, a flash of caution appeared in Jin Chengwu's eyes, though it maintained its smile. "We have indeed received the decree," Tang San continued. "So, I wonder if there are any such cases in Adamant City?" Jin Chengwu without hesitation replied firmly, "Of course not. Adamant City and your noble Skytree City are neighboring cities, friendly cities. How could we commit acts that would harm your clan?" "Really?" Tang San asked in a low voice, his tone serious. Jin Chengwu stopped in place, and a glint of wariness flashed in its eyes. After all, it was facing a dozen blue gold trees, 3 of whom were great nymph kings. Though blue gold trees were terrible fighters even on a good day, this lineup was not something he could ignore. It looked at Tang San seriously and nodded. "As far as I know, we have done nothing of the sort." Tang San gave a faint smile. "Good. If that's the case, then it won't affect the friendship between our 2 clans." Jin Miaosen nudged Tang San from behind, but he acted as if he didn't notice. The other elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan silently observed, not saying anything. Everyone knew that Jin Chengwu was blatantly lying. Not only was the adamant nymph coveting the members of the Blue Gold Tree clan, but they were among the worst perpetrators. The adamant nymphs were one of the comparatively few nymph clans that were not originally plants and had no connection to the ancestral tree or the ancestral flower. While their internal energy was plentiful, their life energy was vastly inferior to that of plant-type nymphs. As a result, their craving for life energy was even greater. The most crucial time in the life cycle of an adamant nymph was when it evolved from a mere chunk of mineral into a nymph. During this process, it needed to absorb large amounts of life energy. Nothing was more abundant in pure life energy than a blue gold tree, which naturally made the adamant nymph clan most eager to exploit them. The adamant nymph emperor had even gone to Skytree City to attempt a surprise attack, which showed just how little regard they had for the blue gold tree clan. Who would believe that Adamant City didn't have any of their people? Yet, despite Jin Chengwu's firm denial, Tang San acted as if he didn't see through the deception and calmly followed the deputy city lord into the city. Adamant City was overall incredibly prosperous, just as Tang San had expected. Once they had sufficient life energy to sustain them, their best path to cultivation involved devouring vast amounts of rare, energy-rich minerals. The Adamant Nymph Emperor's ascension to emperorhood was closely tied to the immense resources controlled by Adamant City. The closer they got to the city center, the more Tang San could feel the pure and massive energy contained within the buildings. Many materials that would be considered precious gems in the Empyrean Dominion were used here as ordinary bricks. Tang San even spotted wind attribute spirit stones, the kind that the Wind Wolf clan used for tribute, being used here as simple building materials. These were minerals that could be used to mint currency. Because of this, while the life energy in Adamant City was far inferior to Skytree City, its overall elemental energy was by far the densest Tang San had ever seen in this world, especially the earth element. The vast earth energy gave the entire city a heavy, grounded feeling. There was likely a massive array at the city's core that drew in earth energy. This immense energy nourished all kinds of mineral-type nymphs, making this place their paradise. Jin Chengwu led Tang San and the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan to a large building. The structure was enormous, with 3 floors over 10 meters high each. Its exterior was imposing, made of dark red stone that radiated intense fire energy. This dark red mineral was clearly something rare and precious. Your Highness, this is Adamant City's guest house. I would like to invite you to rest here for today, Jin Chengwu said with a smile. These words made the Blue Gold Tree elders' expressions turn downright ugly no matter what. Tang San was the leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan and the lord of Skytree City. When a city lord visited another, the most basic courtesy was to invite them to the city lord's manor and treat them with hospitality. Even if the Adamant Nymph Emperor wasn't present, such treatment was a matter of proper etiquette. Yet Jin Chengwu had led them to a mere guest house, and on top of that, the building was constructed entirely of fire element materials. Even a literal rock could tell why this was a problem. For wood attribute beings, staying in a place filled with fire energy was nothing short of torture. Meanwhile, Tang San seemed to be completely oblivious to what was going on. He simply smiled and nodded to Jin Chengwu as if he'd been afforded some kind of great honor. "Thank you very much," he said before walking into the guest house. Jin Chengwu had no intention of escorting them inside. It merely nodded to the Fire Adamant Nymph King by its side before turning and walking away. The Fire Adamant Nymph King led Tang San and his group directly into the so-called guest house. As soon as Tang San stepped inside, a wave of heat hit him. The fire energy here was so thick it reminded him of the Fire Dawn clan city. The elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan immediately felt a surge of irritation, their life energy disturbed by the overwhelming fire energy in the air. The first floor lobby was bustling with activity, and it was clear this wasn't a proper guest house. It was more like an inn, and a specialized one at that. There were plenty of nymphs here, all either fire or earth attribute. Fire reinforced earth one, and with both elements naturally flourishing here, all those who shared the 2 attributes were in their ideal environment for cultivation. As for the Blue Gold Tree clan group, apart from the Fire Adamant Nymph King who had escorted them, there was no one else actively attending to them. The Fire Adamant Nymph King smiled and nodded at Tang San. "Please wait a moment, Your Highness. I'll arrange your accommodations." "Very well, please do," Tang San responded, making a gesture for him to proceed. The Fire Adamant Nymph King went to the front desk, while Jin Miaosan, unable to hold back any longer, approached Tang San. "Big brother, are we really going to tolerate this? They're obviously doing this on purpose. They won't even let us into the city lord's manor, and they brought us to this place instead. They're clearly looking down on us." Tang San smiled and said, "Don't be hasty. Even if they invited us to the city lord's manor, we wouldn't go. What's so great about it? I think this place is fine. What's fine about it? It's unbearable in this heat. I feel like tearing this place down, Jin Miaosan said angrily. Tang San shook his head with a smile. Now let's not get violent. If you're too hot, I'll cool the place down for you. Jin Miaosan was taken aback for a moment. The next instant, she felt a strange energy emanating from Tang San. A faint blue halo radiated from Tang San's body, and in the next moment, his divine consciousness spread outward. The elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan all seemed to hear a faint hum, and they immediately felt a pulling force emanating from Tang San's body. The pulling force had no effect on them, but the fire energy in the air surged toward Tang San like rivers flowing into the sea. His body was like a bottomless black hole, devouring the fire energy. At first, this only caused slight air currents within the hall, but soon the entire hall started to glow, not because additional lighting had been introduced, but because the walls, ceiling, and floor had begun to brighten as the fire energy inside was drawn out. The sudden change caused exclamations from the creatures in the hall, and the fire and earth attribute guests all turned to look in the direction of Tang San and his group. The fire adamant nymph king noticed it as well, but not because of the visual phenomena. Specifically, what it noticed was heat rising from its own body. Its own fire energy was being stripped away, and within just a few moments it felt incredibly weak. "What are you doing?" the fire adamant nymph king cried out in shock, rushing toward Tang San. Tang San smiled and said, "It's a bit hot here, so I'm making things more comfortable for my people." "Stop immediately!" the fire adamant nymph king shouted angrily. Its fire element crystal armor burst with golden red flames as it threw a punch at Tang San, clearly holding nothing back. Jin Chenggu had left the fire adamant nymph king here for a very good reason. Fire restrained wood. Under normal circumstances, even when facing a great nymph king of the Blue Gold Tree clan, this fire adamant nymph king wouldn't necessarily be at a disadvantage, considering the incredibly dense fire energy in the environment. Unfortunately for it, the opponent was Tang San. Before the other elders could even react, Tang San stepped forward, closing the distance in an instant, and caught the fire adamant nymph king's blazing fist. Attacking the lord of a main city is a capital offense. "I would advise you to cool down," said Tang San in a flat tone completely mismatched with the gravity of his words. At the same time, the devouring force coming from within him didn't weaken. Instead, it rapidly intensified. In an instant, all the fire energy in the area rushed toward him, including the energy within the bodies of the fire element nymphs. Meanwhile, the blue halo surrounding Tang San remained full of life energy, seemingly unaffected by the infusion of fire energy. Trying to influence Tang San with fire energy was laughable. Not only did he possess the Chaos Blue Silver Emperor, a supreme bloodline embodying both extreme yin and extreme yang, but he also carried the immortal Flame Phoenix bloodline, one of the supreme fire attribute bloodlines. As for the amount of fire energy present here, it was nothing compared to what he had faced while communing with the fire god's scepter. Tang San absorbed the fire energy into his immortal Flame Phoenix bloodline imprint. What he could draw from the guest house and the other nymphs wasn't all that amazing, but with the fire adamant nymph king in his grasp, he could almost feel as if he was getting somewhere. The fire energy and bloodline power within the fire adamant nymph king was rapidly absorbed by Tang San, causing its armor, along with its entire body, to become increasingly translucent. The fire adamant nymph king struggled desperately, but how could it possibly break free from Tang San's grip? Fear gradually appeared in its eyes and it pleaded, "Your Highness, please show mercy. I didn't mean to offend you." With an innocent expression, Tang San replied, "You were the one who attacked me. How can you say you didn't mean to offend me? I have plenty of witnesses, you know." His devouring power targeted only the fire attribute nymphs, leaving the earth attribute nymphs unaffected. However, even they wore expressions of fear. Most of the nymphs present didn't recognize Tang San or the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan. It was exceedingly rare for members of the Blue Gold Tree clan to be seen in public, especially nymph kings. But seeing Tang San so easily suppress a fire adamant nymph king left these nymphs trembling in fear. The fire attribute ones suffered the worst. Their fire energy was almost instantly drained and they couldn't even move. The elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan were also deeply shocked. Since arriving in Adamant City, Tang San's restrained actions had left the elders feeling somewhat dissatisfied, but they didn't dare voice their frustrations. After all, such submissiveness was common for their clan. For a fleeting moment, they had hoped Tang San would change things, but seeing that he was acting just the same as they did, they couldn't help but feel disappointed. Now, with Tang San suddenly taking action, their feelings shifted, and his stature grew towering in their eyes. How can he devour fire energy? And his life energy isn't affected in the slightest. The elders couldn't help but marvel silently at this revelation. Cracks began to appear in the crystal armor of the fire adamant nymph king. As the bloodline power was drained from its body, its life-bound armor started to shatter, which meant its body was collapsing. For the adamant nymph clan, this was the cruelest fate. Their physical bodies were the toughest in existence, but their life energy was lacking even compared to ordinary demons, let alone plant-type nymphs, and their divine consciousness was on the weak side as well. If their bloodline power was wholly drained, they would die beyond the shadow of a doubt. Meanwhile, Tang San was acting as if he were completely unaware of this. In the corner, the body of a fire attribute nymph exploded into dust, a sign that every last drop of elemental energy had been sucked out of its body. And once the first had fallen, the second followed. One after another, fire attribute nymphs exploded into clusters of dull red powder, their fire energy completely devoured by Tang San. Killed. Just like that, Jean Miaosan, who had previously been full of grievances, now didn't even dare to breathe too loudly. She had never expected her brother to be so domineering. As an outsider, he was committing acts of slaughter in someone else's main city. This was a monumental offense. Tang San acted as if he hadn't even noticed the fire nymph's bodies exploding. His gaze remained fixed on the fire adamant nymph king before him, and he couldn't help but admire the amount of fire energy and bloodline power contained within its body. It was even more than he had expected. Though its cultivation was only at the 10th order, its fire energy was exceptionally pure. He used his own immortal flame phoenix bloodline imprint to completely devour and absorb it. The process strengthened the bloodline imprint, making it a rather rewarding experience. The fire adamant nymph king wanted to speak, but it found that it could no longer make a sound. Finally, when the last explosion rang out in front of Tang San, all the fire element nymphs present had been reduced to dust, scattered across the floor. At the same time, the rich fire energy that had once permeated the entire guest house was completely gone. The fire attribute minerals in the walls had turned black, their fire energy entirely depleted. Tang San turned and smiled at Jean Miaosan. Not that hot anymore, eh? Jean Miaosan, still in shock, shook her head dazedly. And no, it's fine now. Good. Everyone must be tired. Let's rest here in the hall for now. As he spoke, Tang San calmly walked to the center of the hall and sat down cross-legged on the floor. You're not out yet? Do you need me to send you off? To the earth attribute nymphs in the hall, his voice sounded like the very call of the underworld. Immediately they scattered in terror, frantically fleeing the scene. The elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan exchanged glances, but eventually, they all gathered around Tang San. They knew that Tang San had come to Adamant City intending to stir trouble, but they had never expected him to act so directly. Have a seat. Tang San smiled at the elders, gesturing for them to sit, before closing his eyes and silently beginning to meditate. Had this happened before his breakthrough to divinity, the full energy of a 10th order being would have required quite a bit of digestion. But now things were quite different. The fire energy was very pure and indeed powerful, but it didn't faze Tang San in the slightest. The immortal flame phoenix bloodline power was undoubtedly far greater than that of the adamant nymphs. In addition, the innate fire affinity of the immortal flame phoenixes was arguably the best in this plane, while the fire affinity of this fire adamant nymph king, while unquestionably high, was merely something acquired through cultivation. Thus, while the fire energy did increase the power of the immortal flame phoenix bloodline, merging the fire adamant nymph bloodline power into it was nowhere near enough to trigger an evolution. That would have only been possible if this fire adamant nymph had been an emperor, and even then, chances would have been slim. After all, the fire attribute wasn't the strongest attribute of the adamant nymph clan. Tang San silently sensed the changes in his immortal flame phoenix bloodline imprint, while adjusting his breathing. Everything he was doing now was to build up for his future breakthrough to emperorhood. He would need far, far greater reserves compared to when he was preparing to reach the 10th order. In fact, had it not been for the life energy provided by the ancestral tree, it would have taken him a solid decade at the very least. It was only now that he could access the life essence of the entire planet that he could see things moving faster. Jin Miaosan sat down next to Tang San. Big brother, what are we going to do next? She could no longer figure out what her brother was thinking, or what he was trying to accomplish. Sure, it had been really satisfying, but he had just killed an adamant nymph king. The adamant nymph clan certainly wouldn't let this go easily. We don't need to do anything. You just rest here, I'll handle the rest, Tang San replied. A faint blue halo emanated from Tang San, filling the air with rich life energy. The Blue Gold Tree clan elders instantly felt revitalized. To them, the life energy radiating from Tang San was almost identical to that of the ancestral tree. Through the imprint the ancestral tree had bestowed upon them, they felt a deep, seamless connection. Jin Miaosan felt it too, and she didn't resist the life energy that Tang San was releasing. Instead, she let her body absorb it. Then suddenly, she felt as though her divine consciousness had linked with Tang San's. Under his guidance, her consciousness expanded outward, and she was able to sense everything around them. Each of the elders experienced the same sensation, including the two great nymph king elders. They had been of the opinion that Tang San had taken a very short time to become a great nymph king, and there was no way his divine consciousness was up to par. They assumed that his acknowledgement by the ancestral tree and ability to awaken, it were merely due to his direct bloodline connection. But when they cultivated alongside him in front of the ancestral tree, they quickly realized how laughable their assumptions had been. Although Tang San was at the same cultivation level, his divine consciousness felt simply boundless, completely beyond their realm of understanding. Furthermore, thanks to the blessing given to them by the ancestral tree, when their divine consciousness connected with Tang San's, it could also receive nourishment. The prerequisite, of course, was that they had to fully open their consciousness to Tang San. At this moment, just like when they cultivated in Skytree City, they offered no resistance to Tang San's divine consciousness link. All 12 elders connected their divine consciousness with Tang San's, along with their life energy. A blue aura spread out, filling the now cold hotel with a renewed sense of vitality. Their divine consciousness expanded outward, quickly stretching across Adamant City. Soon, the elders saw the earth attribute nymphs who had fled the inn scattering in all directions, some leaving for the outskirts and the others heading deeper into the city. As their divine consciousness spread further, they saw a massive building made entirely of pale gold crystal, located at the very center of Adamant City. Its prominence and grandeur made it clear that this was the city lord's manor. Among the fleeing earth attribute nymphs, some were heading precisely that way, likely to report what had happened. The inn where Tang San and the others currently were was not far from the city lord's manor. This was likely due to Jin Chengwu's intent to monitor their every move. Without a doubt, it wouldn't be long before Jin Chengwu learned of what had happened at the inn. When that happened, Tang San and his group were bound to face repercussions from the Adamant Nymph clan. The elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan had been timid for so long that, despite Tang San's calm demeanor, they couldn't help but feel a little fearful. After all, Skytree City had no emperor. Without an emperor, they lacked the most crucial foundation. Could they really go head-to-head with the Adamant Nymphs? Tang San's divine consciousness didn't stop after discovering the city lord's manor. Instead, it continued to expand outward. The combined divine consciousness of 3 great nymph kings and 10 nymph kings was a terrifying force. Even a regular emperor wouldn't have a stronger divine consciousness. And Tang San was no ordinary great nymph king. He was a proper divine being. The lack of life energy in Adamant City might affect the elders, but it had no impact on Tang San. Thanks to his mysterious heaven technique and various bloodline imprints, he could absorb any type of energy. As their divine consciousness expanded, the elders felt their field of perception growing wider. Tang San's control over their linked consciousness allowed them to see far beyond what they could normally perceive. Gradually, Tang San's divine consciousness enveloped the entirety of Adamant City. Through his divine consciousness, Tang San sensed movement from the city lord's manor. Clearly, they had received the report. A dozen figures shot out from the manor, filled with anger. Leading them was none other than Jin Chenggu, and they were heading straight for the inn. They would arrive in moments. However, Jin Chenggu and its group seemed oblivious to Tang San's divine consciousness, which now covered the entire city. Despite the power emanating from the adamant nymphs, their every move was under Tang San's watch and they were none the wiser about it. This is incredible. The elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan felt slightly more at ease. Though they hadn't known Tang San for long, they had to admit that ever since he became their clan leader, the entire Blue Gold Tree clan had undergone a tremendous transformation. Now they would see if he could work another miracle. They were not afraid of something underhanded being at play. Their status was as high as could be, and the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor knew they were here, so they couldn't possibly just disappear. As for the adamant nymphs doing something above board, they were still a dozen nymph kings and great nymph kings. The adamant nymph emperor wasn't here, and in its absence, they were perfectly able to leave if they couldn't win the fight. Leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan, what is the meaning of this? Jin Chengwu's voice arrived before he did, and this time it was nowhere near as polite. The next moment Jin Chengwu stormed into the inn, leading a group of 10 or so adamant nymph kings. There was even another great nymph king among them, which put them more or less on par with Tang San's group. As soon as it entered, Jin Chengwu swept its gaze across the inn lobby, and a flicker of astonishment flashed in its eyes. It had never expected the Blue Gold Tree group to act just a couple of minutes into their visit. Jin Chengwu had, of course, been deliberately making things difficult, wanting to see whether the Blue Gold Tree clan would endure or resist. When Tang San had agreed to stay at the inn, it had felt quite smug. Even with the new leader, the Blue Gold Tree clan was still the same old Blue Gold Tree clan. Nothing had really changed. It had never expected that before it could even get comfortable back at the City Lord's manor, trouble would break out. And as the Earth Attribute Nymph made its report, he could hardly believe its ears. The Fire Adamant Nymph King left in charge with the guests was no weakling, and fire had a natural advantage over wood. Even if it couldn't defeat the Blue Gold Tree Nymph Kings and Great Nymph Kings, it should have at least been able to send out a warning and hold out for a while. But to his shock, it was simply gone. Yes, gone. What the fuck is wrong with that guy? How dares the lord of another city start trouble in our city, and kill one of our nymph kings at that? Jin Chengwu didn't waste any time, and immediately gathered its forces to confront the situation. However, when it arrived and sensed the changes in the environment, its heart quivered. It knew exactly what kind of mineral had been used to build this inn. Although Jin Chengwu was an earth attribute nymph, it fully understood the immense amount of fire energy this fire attribute stone contained. But now they felt dead, completely devoid of fire energy. Minerals, given enough time, even had the potential to develop sentience and perhaps even become nymphs themselves. But now all the elemental energy had vanished, leaving them as nothing more than lifeless rocks. How did he do this? The Blue Gold Tree clan's attribute is life, and they're plants, so how could they have dispelled all the fire energy? This reminded Jin Chengwu of the incident not long ago when the Adamant Nymph Emperor was sent flying by the ancestral tree. Even with the Adamant Nymph Emperor's incredible defenses, it had still been seriously injured, forcing it to return to the Golden Sacred Mountain for recovery. The event had been so humiliating that the Emperor was now refusing to see anyone. Could it be that this Jin Miaolin really had access to the ancestral tree's power? And if yes, to what extent? In that instant, many thoughts raced through Jin Chengwu's mind. However, on the surface, it maintained its fierce demeanor, glaring angrily at Tang San. Tang San slowly opened his eyes, his face still adorned with a warm smile. Deputy City Lord Jin, how come you are back so soon? We were just about to rest. Jin Chengwu shouted angrily. Leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan, did you just kill members of my clan? Tang San nodded. Yes, that is correct. But the fiery one you left behind attacked me first. I need you to remember that I am the lord of a main city, and anyone who dares to attack a city lord is to be summarily executed. This is the law of the ancestral court. I see that you have already received a full report, so you should know what happened and who struck first. Jin Chengwu hesitated for a moment. It knew that what Tang San said was true. The status of a city lord was second only to that of an emperor, and anyone who attacked a city lord was indeed to be executed without mercy. It was because you first absorbed the fire energy here that my clansmen attacked. Jin Chenggu shouted angrily. Tang San calmly replied, "And what if I absorbed it? We are trees, so how can we even survive in an environment filled with fire, let alone rest? Yet you personally brought us here, claiming this was your guest house, so we had no choice but to stay. Naturally, I had to make it suitable for my clan to rest by eliminating the painful fire energy that they cannot tolerate. But instead of assisting us or even asking questions, your clan's fire nymph king attacked me directly. In such a situation, I had to assume that all fire attribute beings present posed a threat and neutralize them to protect my clansmen. So please explain to me, Deputy City Lord Jin, what's the problem with that? Are you here to accuse me of something?" Tang San's words were precise and logical, leaving him firmly in control of the situation. Jin Miaosan finally understood why her brother had been so patient since they entered the city. He had simply ensured that they remained in the right every step of the way, leaving no room for the other party to argue with them. As expected, Jin Chengwu's confidence faltered under Tang San's questioning, but it still retorted, "Even so, you could have raised objections. This is Adamant City, not Skytree City. How can you casually kill members of my clan, especially one of our gods?" Tang San responded calmly, "If you cannot accept my argument, then this matter should be treated according to the laws of the Ancestral Court. Let us go to the Ancestral Court and have the emperors there decide who is truly at fault." A flicker of killing intent flashed in Jin Chengwu's eyes. Without a doubt, Tang San had the upper hand. As a city lord visiting another main city, Tang San had been treated in an incredibly disrespectful manner, yet he hadn't made a fuss about it. If this matter were brought to the Ancestral Court, they would definitely lose. Not only were they in the wrong, but the Adamant Nymph clan already had quite a bad reputation in the Solstice Empire. Now that the ancestral tree had awakened, almost no nymph emperors would stand with them, and the Empyrean Dominion wouldn't get involved either. "I will, of course, report this matter to Its Majesty and leave the final decision to it. But your clan leader has killed members of my clan, and Adamant City does not welcome guests like you. Please do not linger any longer and leave the city at once," Jin Chenggu said. It knew there was no advantage to be gained at the Ancestral Court, so its best option now was to endure in silence and leave the matter for the Adamant Nymph Emperor to deal with. Driving Tang San and his group away was the best option. Jin Chenggu couldn't very well attack a city lord, even though it was a deputy city lord itself. Even if they could win, the Ancestral Court would never tolerate such actions. Upon hearing this, the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan couldn't help but relax a little. They had already killed one of the enemy's nymph kings, which was most definitely enough to send a message, and now they were being allowed to leave. Moreover, if they took the matter to the Ancestral Court, they wouldn't be at a disadvantage. Their young clan leader was truly impressive. However, to their surprise, Tang San remained seated and showed no intention of standing up. "Since your clan does not welcome us, we will leave after we've finished our business." "Finished your business?" Jin Chenggu was stunned, a sense of unease rising within it. What else did this guy plan to do? Before it could ponder further, a brilliant blue-golden light shone in Tang San's eyes as he bellowed, "I call upon the will of the ancestral tree." As soon as the words left his mouth, a radiant blue-golden light burst out from his entire body, enveloping all the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan in its glow. Immediately, the ancestral tree's imprint within each elder made them shine with the same light. Their auras quickly linked with Tang San's, connecting through both bloodline and divine consciousness. A grand and majestic life force erupted, and a massive blue-golden shadow burst through the building they were in, reducing it to ashes. The enormous light surged into the sky, reaching thousands of meters high in an instant. It then spread out, forming a colossal apparition. As the blue-golden light appeared, Jin Chenggu attempted to intervene, but as soon as it moved, it felt the space around it grow thick and oppressive. A tremendous force of unparalleled majesty pressed down on him, rendering it immobile. The other adamant great nymph kings and nymph kings were similarly frozen, unable to move as they watched the once fire-infused and crumble into dust while the blue-golden light surged into the sky. The blue-golden light took the form of a massive tree with a giant canopy. The ethereal silhouette of the ancestral tree then started to grow clearer, and the life energy emanating from it was so overwhelming that even the vegetation outside Adamant City instinctively radiated its own life force in resonance. Inside Adamant City, the mineral-type nymphs felt the immense life energy, and at the same time, they could clearly sense their own life force slowly being drawn away. The massive blue gold tree silhouette was absorbing their life energy, causing widespread fear and confusion among the denizens that were completely unaware of what had just transpired. Under our ancestors' radiance, our people shall return home. Tang San's powerful voice reverberated across the sky over Adamant City, reaching every corner. Specks of blue-golden light began to fall from the branches of the ancestral tree's image, descending into Adamant City. A few moments later, blue-golden rays of light started to rise here and there, transforming into ethereal tree-shaped apparitions. Some were large, some small, but all radiated the same blue-golden light. "Bring them back," Tang San ordered in a low voice. Figures emerged from the massive silhouette of the ancestral tree, none other than the 12 elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan. They transformed into vines, shooting toward the places where the blue-golden shadows of their clansmen appeared. As the branches descended, the earth trembled. One by one, blue-golden figures were pulled out by the vines, returning to the ancestral tree's light. There were more than 100 such figures, and most of them appeared to be nothing but chunks of wood, blue-golden trunks and branches. Those still intact were fewer than 1 in 10. Jin Chengwu's expression finally changed drastically as he watched the blue-gold trees, or whatever remained of them, being retrieved by the vines. The ancestral tree. This is truly the power of the ancestral tree. The Blue Gold Tree clan can bring the ancestral tree's power out of Sky Tree City? Such terrifying power. Could even its majesty stand against it? And then there's the real problem. The ancestral court had issued a decree ordering that all Blue Gold Tree clan members and their remains be returned to Sky Tree City. Not half an hour back, Jin Chengwu had confidently assured Tang San that Adamant City held no such prisoners or remains thereof, yet now the truth was laid bare. There was no way to deny it. The radiance of the ancestral tree continued for 5 full minutes, during which all the blue gold trees in the city, whether alive or dead, were transported into the light of the ancestral tree's light. As the ancestral tree's radiance gradually receded and sunlight shone upon the empty space where the inn once stood, Tang San and the 12 elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan reappeared before Jin Chengwu and the other Adamant Nymph clan powerhouses. Tang San's expression was just as calm as it had been, but the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan were filled with visible grief and rage. Beside them lay broken branches and incomplete trunks. Even the dozen or so blue gold trees who were still alive were barely hanging on and were clearly in a dire state, with little life force left. There was no doubt that their life energy had been absorbed by the adamant nymphs. Moreover, these were the still alive ones, as well as the remains with some lingering life energy that allowed the ancestral tree's will to detect them. Those who had been dead for a while and whose trunks and branches had dissipated into dust could, of course, no longer be sensed. The ancestral tree had been asleep for many centuries. How many more blue gold trees had perished in Adamant City throughout these centuries, their life force used as a mere cultivation resource? Jin Chengwu realized that it could move again, but now its heart was gripped with fear. "Your Highness, I can explain. What you found must have been hidden by some individuals, and has nothing to do with Adamant City," it said urgently. "Nothing to do?" Tang San asked calmly. "As you may have noticed, I personally found these people using my divine consciousness, so I am well aware of where they were. Over a third of them came from the city's lord's manor." "Your manor? Please go ahead and explain now. I am all ears." Jin Chengwu was left speechless. "Monsters, you're all monsters." Jean Miaosen was now kneeling before the broken remains of her clan members, sobbing uncontrollably. Earlier, when Tang San had killed the Fire Adamant Nymph King and the other fire attribute nymphs in the inn, it had seemed a bit excessive. Now, with the evidence laid out before them, the enmity between the two clans had become a blood feud. The blue gold trees were the most precious source of life energy on the planet. This was known to all, whether demons or nymphs. Yet, regardless of their value as resources, they were still a first-tier clan that had produced emperors. They were the rulers of Sky Tree City and heirs of the ancestral tree. It was one thing to act against them in secret, but being exposed in public was an entirely different matter. Worst of all, the ancestral court had just issued a decree to that effect not 1 month before, and Jin Chengwu had just confidently declared that Adamant City did not have any blue gold trees. Things had truly gone past the point of no return. Jin Chenggu had never imagined that Tang San could use the ancestral tree's power to sense the presence of every blue gold tree in the area, even detecting some of their broken remains. The ancestral tree's light slowly receded, and the blue glow illuminated the bodies of the blue gold tree clan members. One by one, they floated into the ancestral tree's embrace, disappearing into its radiance. Tang San then walked slowly toward Jin Chenggu. Is there anything you would like to explain, Deputy City Lord? Jin Chengwu's expression changed and its gaze grew cold. I don't think there's anything to explain right now, clan leader Jin. I suggest you think things through carefully. Do you intend to provoke a conflict between our two clans and cities? I very much doubt the Blue Gold Tree clan can afford that. Now that you've taken your people back, I advise you to leave Adamant City immediately. You're not welcome here. Tang San laughed coldly. What a bandit's logic. You preyed on the weakness of our Blue Gold Tree clan and caused an unspeakable tragedy to our people. Nobody could fight against you in the past. But that was in the past. I am the clan leader now, and with me in the lead and our great ancestor behind us, things are vastly different. So let me ask you, what makes you think we can't afford a conflict? You think a war between our two cities is beyond our abilities, but you are mistaken. Today, I will destroy Adamant City to avenge my fallen clansmen. Jin Chenggu stared at Tang San in shock. Are you delusional? You dare to challenge the authority of the emperors? Tang San replied calmly, Me? You yourselves are the ones that challenged the authority of the entire ancestral court. I'll give you time, so call back the Adamant Nymph Emperor. If I don't get a satisfactory answer to this issue, you have my word that I will raze Adamant City to the ground. Madman! You're nothing but a madman. Jin Chenggu looked at Tang San in disbelief. It knew exactly what the Blue Gold Tree clan was like. They quite literally couldn't fight even to protect their own lives. Without the protection of the ancestral tree's husk, they would have been wiped out long ago. While this new clan leader's ability to harness the ancestral tree's power made it cautious, the idea of wiping out Adamant City was pure fantasy. However, Jin Chenggu didn't attack immediately. It closed its eyes and sent a ripple of divine consciousness toward the city lord's manor, communicating with someone. Meanwhile, Tang San slowly rose into the air. Jin Chenggu, not daring to delay, continued communicating with the manor through its divine consciousness as it followed Tang San into the sky. Then Tang San's voice echoed. Hear me, people of Adamant City. I am Jin Miaolin, the new leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan. Just now, under the radiance of the ancestral tree, I found dozens of my clansmen imprisoned in Adamant City. Some are on the verge of death, others are nothing but mutilated remains. These despicable acts were committed by the Adamant Nymph clan in Adamant City. Their crimes are abhorrent to my clan. On behalf of the Blue Gold Tree clan, I formally declare war on the Adamant Nymph clan, and this war shall not cease until one side is destroyed. You have 12 hours to vacate Adamant City. If you do so, my clan shall consider you not to be part of this conflict. If you are still in Adamant City 12 hours from now, whether you are members of the Adamant Nymph clan or not, you shall be considered mortal enemies of my clan and you shall be treated as such. Jin Chenggu stared wide-eyed at Tang San, jaw dropped in disbelief. It had never imagined that things would escalate to this extent, that the new clan leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan would dare formally declare war on the Adamant Nymph clan, and with such serious terms as a fight to the death. Was he dead set on annihilation? Even the Blue Gold Tree clan elders who had come with Tang San were utterly shocked. Seeing the tragic state of their people, they were naturally filled with righteous anger, but none of them had expected that their young leader would dare to declare war on the Adamant Nymph clan, a clan with an emperor, and one with significant influence throughout the Solstice Empire. Although they weren't quite as powerful as the Scorching Sunflowers or the Netherman Flowers, they were still a first-tier clan, the strongest among mineral-type nymphs. Could the Blue Gold Tree clan even bear the consequences of declaring war on such a powerful clan? But even so, the elders felt a deep sense of satisfaction. It had been so many years since the Blue Gold Tree clan had shown such backbone. Was Tang San going too far? Hardly. If a strong clan faced this situation with a weaker clan, this would never be considered excessive. Their people had been abducted and slaughtered. If even the clan leader himself didn't fight back, it would only encourage more atrocities. What was more, Tang San had already arranged for the ancestral court to issue a decree demanding the return of their people. Yet so far, not a single one had been sent back. Clearly, no one was taking the ancestral court's decree seriously, and the ancestral court itself was not going to help the Blue Gold Tree clan recover their missing kin. At this moment, Tang San's open declaration of war sent a clear message to every other main city and every other clan. The Blue Gold Tree clan was standing up, and no one would oppress them any longer. After delivering his speech, Tang San descended back to the ground, returning to his previous spot and sitting down cross-legged once again. He had said that he would wait, and wait he would. He was not bluffing in the slightest. Ji was really waiting for the adamant nymph emperor to return. Without the courage to face an emperor, he wouldn't have made such a bold decision. At that moment, the life energy within his body flowed even more freely. The connection between the ancestral tree's imprint and his own Blue Gold Tree clan bloodline imprint became stronger still. An even denser concentration of life energy began gathering from all around Adamant City, converging toward him. The ancestral tree was a part of the planar ruler, and was controlling the life energy of the entire plane. Clearly, the phenomena manifesting around Tang San were due to him receiving the plane's acknowledgement. In other words, if the ancestral tree were to fully awaken and regain wisdom, it would do exactly what Tang San was doing. The ancestral tree was an extraordinary being. It could be said that without the ancestral tree, the demon continent as it was would not exist. It was one of the three great ancestors of all nymphs, yet its own people were being treated as mere resources and slaughtered without mercy. The Blue Gold Tree clan was forced to remain within the inner part of Skytree City, not daring to step out. Over the years, the clan had accumulated a tremendous amount of resentment, and every day, they were offering countless prayers to the ancestral tree. Even though its divine consciousness was no longer independent, the ancestral tree still had some rudimentary sentience. How could it not feel the pain of its descendants? Tang San's actions were righting the wrongs suffered by the Blue Gold Tree clan, and this made the ancestral tree view him as its true representative. And the truth was that these actions were not just to gain the ancestral tree's approval, but indeed for the sake of the Blue Gold Tree clan. Due to his long-time connections with the Golden Tree and the Blue Silver Grass, he had always felt a closeness to the Blue Gold Tree clan. Whether it was the Adamant Nymph clan or other clans that had captured Blue Gold Trees, to him, their behavior made them no different from vile devils. They were all nymphs, yet they slaughtered one another to strengthen themselves. This was practically cannibalism. The only way to deal with such beasts was to send a brutal message. And now the city was in an uproar. Some of the denizens had no idea what was happening, but those who knew anything at all about the Blue Gold Tree clan could somewhat grasp the situation, especially since the ancestral court had issued a decree not long ago. What they found most bewildering was the fact that the Blue Gold Tree clan had dared to openly declare war on the Adamant Nymph clan while in Adamant City. Was it all because of their new clan leader? The new leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan was definitely not an emperor yet. If a new emperor had been born, the ancestral court would have announced it immediately, spreading the news across the entire continent. On the other hand, the Adamant Nymph clan was a powerful clan with a true emperor. The Adamant Nymph emperor was not among the strongest emperors, but it was nevertheless an old and experienced one. It was famous for its practically impenetrable defense, which had earned it the title of indestructible. So, what was it that gave him the confidence?